this video entered my feed, which is about how this guy doesn't use LSPs. Yeah, so I want to have a look at that video because I'm curious. I know that there are other people as well who don't use certain, who either don't use LSPs or simply do not rely on certain features. Like there are people who don't use syntax highlighting. There are people who do use syntax highlighting, but to a very like minimal degree. Auto completion. I think TS Soding was talking about like how he kind of prefers a compiler workflow where you don't use an LSP, you just compile and then get errors, and then compile and then get errors. I kind of touched on it in my last recording, but yeah, so just want to focus more on that because I'm quite curious. Personally, I think LSP is very useful. I mean, like whether or not the syntax highlighting is necessary, it's just kind of just nice to have. If I lost it, would I feel worse? Yeah, but I mean, I assume I get used to it, right? If I had to, but so like it's like I less use it more less as a dependency and more as a convenience. If you took away my LSP, I wouldn't be crippled. I would just be very sad. So let's see what the arguments are in this video, and maybe I'll do some other research around it afterwards. But yeah, I mean, I've already kind of like skimmed through it a little bit, but let's have a look at it properly. Danzig, James Orcales, or Callis, I don't know. This is the video. It's interesting, actually. Yeah, like the actual format of this video is quite interesting. So have a look at this. It's like, it reminds me a bit of like a no boilerplate video, right? Where he has a slideshow and he says my videos are in the public domain. But then in this case, it's not edited like that though. Like this is literally
Giannis is about to get traded, so I'm wearing my Bucks hat. Yeah, Ripperoni. Anyway, let's start. Oh, that slideshow. The right tool for the job is often the tool you are already using. Adding new tools has a higher cost than many people appreciate, said by John Carmack. And in the spirit of this philosophy, I stopped using LSPs. The goal is to reduce dependencies in my developer setup and use what I already have. Neovim, Fuzzy Finder, ripgrep. For two main...
What even is ripgrep? Recursive grep. Like, how does it differ from like just grep? Okay. Yeah, still getting used to that. Quick verdict. Grep is in every visual way. 5 times faster. I mean, I assume then that grep just uses, like, any modern grep would just use ripgrep. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the grep on my computer right now is secretly actually ripgrep. Or maybe it's not, I don't know, but whatever. Fuzzy Finder, very good. Neovim. Question is, with Neovim, with what plugins? To what extent are you plugging it?
Reasons: security and portability. As a professional developer, my developer machine is an extension of the organization's attack surface. And consequently, developer machines are one of the weak links in an organization's security.
Yeah.
And so reducing dependencies means less supply chain attacks, and that improves the security of everyone involved.
I mean, that's generally true, right? Like, let's say you're developing and then suddenly a plugin you're using in Neovim gets compromised and now your entire thing is like hacked or whatever, I don't know. Yeah, so like it's less risk. Supply chain attacks are real. They become an increasing problem as people get more and more dependency hell, but for like your editor setup, I'm not convinced it matters. Yes, you have to be careful about just like updating things mindlessly, but for the most part, we do, and it doesn't cause any issues, so. Yeah. But it's worth, obviously it's worth thinking about.
Regarding portability, minimizing the tools that I depend on for my workflow means that I can switch between machines and conduct the same.
Yeah, so I don't think an LSP is a concern for that, for porting between different machines. And like, even if you do, like, I don't know, switch to a fucking, like the original Macintosh computer, you know, for some reason, like if you're doing that, you probably aren't even, it's probably not going to be that often. Like, if you are spending the vast majority of your time programming on like modern Mac OS, Windows, or Linux, you probably don't need to worry about portability. You know, like, can I have my dev environment work where I need it to? Like, yeah, because you're going to be programming that. Like, maybe in the rare occasions, you know, where you switch to a less featureful setup. But like, those would be your rare occasions. It makes more sense to kind of just suit your workflow to what you actually use the most often. But you know, that's my take.
Those on any given day, and I'd be set up quite quickly. Right now, I only have like 2 dependencies that are Unix specific, and that's Ghosty and the fish shell, which are trivial to replace.
Yeah.
Antithesis tackles the security of developer machines in 2 ways: physical security and software security. Physical security, they have an on-site arrangement. Developer machines are within the office, and they can standardize the security of the physical access to machines. For software security, NixOS is installed on all machines. This ensures that system setup is standardized because configuration is treated as infrastructure as code. 2 benefits to this is that security auditing is straightforward because everything is in one configuration file. Number 2, every time you stray away from the defaults, you change some setting, you add another dependency, those things are done explicitly in the configuration file. And
yeah, NixOS is pretty good for that. I've already talked before, well, again, in the previous video, how I would like to set up NixOS on a proper, like, super, what would you call it? Like a home computer, but like a powerful one. Like right now, I'm on a ThinkPad, a fairly old, I mean, it's the X13 Yoga Lenovo ThinkPad. I don't know how old it is, but the specs aren't great. So I use Arch not just for, well, I use Arch over NixOS partly because of performance reasons, because NixOS can be a bit slower. And I really want to squeeze as much performance out of this laptop as I can because the specs just aren't great. But if I had like a proper powerful, like big home desktop computer that I didn't carry around, then maybe I would, yes, set up NixOS and kind of invest more time into like really setting that up. But for Arch, like, I mean, I can barely be bothered to like fucking rice my menus. Like, look at my application launch menu versus my config launch menus and my project launch. Like, I haven't riced these. I could rice them, but it's just like, can I be bothered to spend that time? Not really. Because like, I'd care more about having like look really nice if I had like a strong, powerful computer, beefy computer that could handle the customizations for starters, but then also like just kind of sit in my room looking nice. Like this computer is like, it's built to be carried around. So, yeah, NixOS anyway.
And that adds maintenance burden on you, which incentivizes you to simplify your setup.
Sorry, what is Antithesis? I assume it's a company. I don't know if he works at the company or... Anonymous software testing platform. Right. That finds bugs that others miss. Is this it? I think it is. Okay. I don't know what the colors are different here. Must be no. This was this was last year. Okay, fair enough.
Replacing LSPs require us to take into account these use cases.
Yeah. So syntax highlighting. I already saw a bit of what he has to say about this. And I'm actually curious because I saw another thing as well before, like a blog post about someone who uses very minimal syntax highlighting. He makes his comments like very like stand out a lot because comments should stand out. Otherwise, you shouldn't need them. But then makes the rest of his code very like dull. And he might like highlight strings and stuff, but like otherwise, like he keeps it very minimal. So that's interesting. Having no syntax highlighting, like you don't need syntax highlighting, but it does help the brain like quickly parse things quickly. It's just minimizing it is interesting. You know, like reducing how much you really need. Autocomplete and or snippets. Autocomplete's great. Snippets are not as necessary, but autocomplete in general is just really useful, especially when it shows you the docs, because like the documentation for the autocomplete things and for like the functions you want to call. It just saves you time from like looking up references, right? Like the good thing about autocomplete with fuzzy finding is that you can forget something, but then like just quickly just like say, oh yeah, is it this one? And it shows up and you're like, oh yeah, that's it. Or like, what are the arguments for this one again? Or like, what are the struct parameters for this again? And like, it just shows you. So that's really useful. It saves you time switching back and forth between docs. And it means that a lot of things can be self-documented a lot. Well, you can take advantage of self-documentation a lot more easily. API discovery assumes the same thing. We'll find out. Refactoring, I don't know what that's about. LSP refactoring I don't use. Maybe like for formatting, but I don't like using automatic formatting tools, at least at the moment. Generally because if I'm not formatting my code well as I write it, then that's a problem in of itself. I just format it as I write it, so I don't need that. And then inline error messages are also really useful. Again, like, not again, but as I said before, you can just rely on a compiler, and just like compile to get your errors, but it means that you're constantly switching back and forth between the compiler. And it also means you're constantly compiling, which uses up, it takes time. Whereas if you have inline error messages or inline warnings and inline whatever, it's just a lot easier to take care of. Not to mention, not all languages even give you proper compiler diagnostics. Like, yes, Rust is very good for that, but like C++, there are things that like Clang D will tell you that the Clang compiler itself won't tell you. And like running like Clang tidy as well. Like I don't know if Clang tidy is built into Clang D, so like it will tell you that stuff too. But yeah, it's just more of a hassle to go back and forth with compiling and not. I should know because I've done that for a while now because I was too lazy to set up my LSP in Neovim. But I do look forward to just not needing to compile as often because compiling takes time. And the good thing about inline error messages is that yes, it takes time because like it still has to run like check the errors, but it's more the fact that it happens like passively, and that can be a good time saver because like it happens in the background. It's like if your compiler was running in the background as you were typing code, and then just give you errors as you typed it. Like how is that not useful? Also like jump to definition as well and stuff like that's also just really useful. Like you can use grep, and there's something to be said about like with code architecture and having like clear searchable things for like where your main function is, your entry point, where variable definitions are, like having explicit like let or define keywords in a language. Like those are really useful. But first of all, not all languages are built amazingly. In fact, a lot of them kind of have features that leave a lot to be desired. Like I said with C++ and its compiler, for instance, and how like it's hard for it. Well, I mean, like, it's hard for the compiler to even give good diagnostics a lot of the time. And so a lot of that is kind of pushed into the LSP or Clang tidy. But like some languages as well just aren't designed the best way, and so the LSP can help you get around that. Like named arguments, having inline named arguments is really useful for me because I love having named arguments, but Rust and C++ just don't support them. I don't use other languages like Swift and whatnot. So since I primarily use C++ and Rust, I get around not having named arguments by having my LSP insert them into my code. So it's like things like that where like without the LSP I would suffer, but I wouldn't like I would be able to cope. It's just I would prefer to make my life more convenient because it is a human characteristic. It is a trait of humans, humanity, that we develop and use tools to aid us. Rejecting tools just because I want to prepare myself for that. Well, as I saw in an interview recently, prepare yourself for the situation where you need to, I don't know, log into an airplane's terminal while it's crashing, right? And it's like, therefore, you have to be prepared for the worst case scenario. It's like, well, realistically, no, you don't. And even if like a plane is crashing and you have to log into a terminal, okay, Therefore, it's good to know Neovim. That's good, true. And Neovim keybinds. I think that's generally true. Like being able to code without GUI is a good skill to have. You know, aside from the fact that Vim keybinds in general are just more efficient. But like stuff like you can cope without an LSP. You can cope without syntax highlighting. Yes, it might slow you down a bit because you're not used to it, but like it won't be so detrimental that like it's worth getting rid of them. Again, for the rare cases where you won't use them. So that's my take on this entire topic so far. So let's see what this video says about it.
Syntax highlighting, autocomplete, and snip. Reason why I encourage you to migrate away from LSPs is
sluggish, too generic, and far too complex for what they actually do. I don't know if all LSPs are sluggish. Like, does ClangD work on HTTP server with JSON RPC? Or is this more of like a Go thing? Because I know that this guy uses Go. And I guess maybe Rust. But yeah, I mean, LSPs are slow. Slower than not, but that's kind of a given.
Is that it has technical issues inherently. Number one, it's sluggish. Number two, it's too generic. Number three, it's far too complex for what they actually do.
I wonder what 3 means.
Oh, that's not a technical issue. That's more of like a conclusion.
Like, Tree Sitter, for instance, can have syntax highlighting. I think it's better with an LSP, but like just generally speaking, Tree Sitter can do a lot by itself for syntax highlighting. So then, if you just want syntax highlighting, you don't need an LSP, right? That could be overkill. So I wonder what you can do without an LSP. I mean, I know in this video he'll go over alternatives to LSP lists. I mean, I don't know if this is alternatives to programming without an LSP. I assume it is, because he said I stopped using LSPs. So we'll see. Because I'm curious
what the
alternatives
sluggish.
are.
LSPs are a full-on HTTP
faster,
server communicating.
Less generic, more precise, more specific tools that are faster.
Oh, that's not a technical issue. That's more of like a conclusion. Okay, number one, sluggish. LSPs are a full-on HTTP server communicating via JSON RPC. For something that should be, for something that's constantly running and communicating with your editor, something that's always updating as you make changes to your code base, this is quite heavy-handed. And you see how in large code bases, monolith code bases, you'd already have performance issues with LSP servers. Number two.
That's true. Are LSPs in Neovim actual servers? Do they use a HTTP server with JSON RC? Specifically, the ones I would use, like ClangD and Rust Analyzer. Because one of the comments on this video says that there's a difference between an LSP and an LS. Yeah, here, LSP does not equal LS, by the way. So like, I wonder what that means. They speak JSON RPC but not over HTTP. By default, Neovim supports them with subprocesses and communicates over standard I/O. Yeah. I see. Right. So what makes LSPs sluggish? Keep it open-ended here. Uh-huh. Yeah, so a lot of work to do. That's the first thing. Yeah, cold start. Okay. So for C++, speak about headers, trimmed commands or JSON, and limiting bucket index scope has most. Okay. Because I mean, like those languages in particular are have notoriously slow compile times compared to other languages, so they are quite affected.
Number two is too generic. When you're using a language with niche features, LSP just straight up doesn't work with those features. For example, with Zig, if a function signature has a comp time parameter, LSPs will straight up just not work. It wouldn't have any autocomplete inside that function. Another one is in Odin.
Why? Is that not just because the Zig LSP is just not built well enough? I don't understand.
If a function has parametric polymorphism, the LSP will just not work. And when you're used to having autocomplete and auto suggestions, and suddenly your LSP isn't working in this function scope, you get distracted. It takes you away from the zen of coding, because now you're thinking, oh wait, is my code, is there an error in my code? Is my LSP bugging out? Did it just crash? Now you're thinking about all these things that are irrelevant to what you're actually doing, what you're actually solving.
Is that just because, again, the Zig and Odin LSPs are undercooked? I don't get that argument.
And the conclusion there is, it's far too complex for what they actually do. Given the fact that LSPs are just as complex of a project as compilers, when you look at these use cases for LSPs, there's really not that much benefit, right? The benefits don't outweigh the costs.
I would argue differently. I can list a lot of benefits, as I did already. I feel like they are quite good, and I don't think the cost is great either.
So starting with syntax highlighting.
Okay.
Syntax highlighting helps us parse the code structure at a quick glance.
Yeah.
It also gives us immediate error feedback. So when you're typing and then there's an error in your code, in your grammar, the syntax highlighting for the whole file just gets messed up.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean by
That's a really useful feature. I've tried actually editing without syntaxizing in the past, particularly back when I was working on 010 editor scripts, and it actually did waste my time because I would constantly make typos or something, or like, I don't know, do some funky syntax thing where I just forget something, and then I wouldn't know about it because it's just black and white text, or white text on a black background. So then only when I try to run the script, I'd be like, this doesn't work. And doesn't help that the 010 editor, error messages aren't particularly great either. So I've had that experience, and yeah, it's useful. It's useful to have seen
by error feedback. And LSPs build a more accurate ASC relative to regex and tree sitter, improving highlighting accuracy.
It's true, although I do feel like you can get by with just tree sitter anyway.
And this comment from a Y Combinator thread discussing Rob Pike's opinions on syntax highlighting articulates my sentiment more accurately. I have to agree, syntax highlighting lets me recognize patterns in code without having to read it, and I actively avoid reading details I don't need. To me, that is also what annoys me about IDEs. I want to focus on the shape of the code, not other stuff. When I focus on code, I want that code to be all that exists in my mind at that time. But I suspect whether or not you like IDEs is orthogonal to how you like your code presented.
Yeah.
But I also feel like there's an interesting range within developers from those of us who pattern match, skim, and zoom in on details to those developers who read code in detail. And I'm not sure those of us on different sides of the spectrum see perceptual load the same way. In other words, he likes to take note of what the code looks like, and that's how he remembers the content of the code base. And I can relate to this because back in high school, when I'm taking an exam and I'm trying to remember the lecture, I try to imagine my notes, the notes that I wrote, and how it looked like in my notebook. Like, was it on the left page? Is it on the right page? What did my handwriting look like? And as I recall those details, I then recall what the content was on my notes. That's how I can see the merit in what this person is saying. On the other side of the fence, we have someone asking for syntax highlighting to be added to the Go playground. And remember, this is back in 2012, or take note, this is back in 2012.
Wow.
And this thread is infamous for Rob Pike's abrasive responses. I only included the first one, which is quite tame. He said, Go format was written to reduce the number of pointless discussions about code formatting. It succeeded admirably. I'm sad to say, however, it had no effect whatsoever on the number of pointless discussions about syntax highlighting. If you look at the Go playground today, it still doesn't have no effect.
Splitsensprachen, Blinkelichten. So the Go playground didn't have syntax highlighting back in the day.
Whatsoever on the number of pointless discussions about syntax highlighting. If you look at the Go playground today, it still doesn't have syntax highlighting. Go playground.
Did ask?
Yeah, everything is white. Comments, the strings, function calls. And you know what? I actually agree with what Rob Pike...
What? Go playground. What? It's true. Hello, Sakai. There's a format button, but not, yeah. Okay, sure. Whatever.
Rob Pike's decision here. Because with the playground, it's meant to show you small snippets of Go source code. And you really don't need syntax highlighting to understand any of this. And adding syntax highlighting implies that now we have to add a Go parser written in JavaScript, which is a huge
Right.
dependency for this website, and it completely inflates the complexity. Rob Pike, however, probably just doesn't like syntax highlighting inherently, and on that side, I disagree. I'm more so coming from an engineering standpoint, reducing dependencies. These two examples showcase the spectrum of syntax highlighting. On one side, you'd have Rob Pike, zero syntax highlighting at all. On the other, you'd have a rainbow vomit. Everything is colored. The highlighting gives you no sense of structure for the code base anymore. And as all things in life,
It's an actual example for that. Rainbow, vomit, syntax, highlighting. What the hell? Code. Testing this out. Probably overkill. But whatever. So I think like which ones I would stick with. Like I would have keywords be highlighted. So like if, return, for, but also like let and function. I don't see why those need to be different. Like yeah, like if is control flow and like let and function are different, like just general keywords. But like I don't see why control flow needs to be a different color to just keywords. The only exception I would make is like return, because return is specifically, you know, like it stands out because like you want to see where returns occur. They're quite important. But like that's highlighting based on importance, not based on like the category. Keywords are also important to highlight just because you don't want to get collisions with them. So that's one reason. And then they also just make the rest of your user code easier to read because you can filter out the keywords once you get used to them. Functions and variables having different highlighting is honestly it's a problem actually, because it means that more developers write function names that look like variable names, and so it kind of encourages like not writing good function names. So honestly, those can be the same colors. I don't mind. Same with types. Types have start with capital letters, so I don't see a reason for those to be capitalized either, to be honest. Yeah. And then literals, like string literals and number literals, those are useful to make different just because they're literals and not variable names, and you may not always like immediately see the thing. So I do like to have those highlighted. And then punctuation, you know, like symbols and stuff, I would have be like a darker, like more muted color. Just so, again, like you can filter those out because they're more structural than they are like actual content. And then comments, finally, I actually do like the idea of having comments be like flashy. That way you only write comments when you need them. Because again, like because they're grayed out, developers think that they could just fill their entire code with comments, just kind of filter it out. No, if you have comments in your code, they should only be there for a purpose, and then have like it being bright and center. Because first of all, like if you have a comment, the correct use of comments is for things that require attention. So if they stick out, that's good, right? If they stick out and you're like, oh, I don't like how it sticks out there, then maybe it's not as important as you think. Of course, the exception is with doc comments, but doc comments in general are very, like, you don't really want to work with doc comments in the first place when writing code. Like, it's good to have like inline documentation. Sorry, it makes documentation easier, yes, but when you're editing the code, it's just a pain in the ass, and you probably want to toggle them off if anything. So for doc comments, those can be grayed out, and then in my editor, I'd also have a toggle to hide them. But then it's like, well, I'd also prefer to just not have doc comments and instead write my documentation in some other format, from some other file or format, or write code that is so self-documenting that documentation can be generated for it. That also be pretty good. But yeah, just some thoughts there. So honestly, I'm on board with having more minimalistic. The idea of having more minimalistic highlighting. So I wonder what he will adopt, because I've seen an example before.
Life. There's always the middle ground approach is always the best.
Keybinds.
And I'm here to show you that I think I found that approach. And what I did is I just have 4 highlight groups, technically 3. I have white, no, not technically, practically 3. I have white, gray, yellow, and red. So for white, that's source code, yellow is strings, gray is for comments, and to-do markers, fix me, notes, inside the comment is red, punctuation pairs are red. That's it. Using this for a while, I can confirm that knowing code structure at a punctuation pairs are red.
When you're selecting them. Fair enough. But yeah, I would still have muted punctuation, keywords be highlighted, and then everything else can be the same color, and then literals as well. So yeah, so I would have keywords. So first of all, just normal, just white. Then you have keywords, punctuation, comments, literals, and return.
That's it.
Which
Using
is
this for a while,
yeah,
I can confirm that knowing code structure at a quick glance is useful. However, it does not take much to do this and is easy to overdo. Yeah. That's why only large swaths of text need highlighting, strings, and comments. Also, immediate error feedback is distracting. The more colors that you have means the more colors can get messed up. And as you're writing, suddenly your function calls become green instead of red, and now you're all confused.
Yeah. Especially like as you're writing it can like look like an error, and that actually is quite distracting. And I feel like he might reuse that point for the inline errors. It's why I'm not like, it's why I historically haven't been too fussed about inline errors. Let me just open a project here to kind of show off my current syntax highlighting. This is unconfigured, so like this is just the out of the box highlighting. I haven't bothered to update it yet. Hence, it may look a bit not to my liking. Let's say, what's like a good file that actually has content? Because this project's kind of fucked. Main's fine, I guess. So I notice right now I have quite a bit going on here. Namespaces and to be fair, I'd probably have namespaces as well be different color. Just because there's no reliable way to differentiate namespaces from variables. I mean, there is in that use colon. To be fair, yeah, since you use colon, actually, I'm not sure it matters. But more so that namespaces are kind of like noise anyway. So honestly, I'd even consider graying out namespaces in the same way I would gray out punctuation. But then it's like, at that point, you probably just want to do using standard, right? Or using namespace standard, sorry. Like at that point, honestly, just do that. So that's honestly an idea, and it's cool because like thinking about this, right? Thinking about the highlighting really gets you thinking about what do I actually need in my code? Like what's actually helpful, and what's more just noise that I don't even want to look at in the first place. Yeah, literals, escape characters actually being a different color. That's important. So I would definitely keep that. Function calls doesn't matter for me. And literals, I do like being a different color. But like this X and Y, I don't know why this have to be yellow when my normal stuff is just like white. Auto is a keyword, that's fine. Cint is a type. It's like the auto here is blue, light blue, like cyan, but the auto here is turquoise. Like why? And like this is with an LSP, by the way, so like it's not like it's malinformed. Result that has value is again cyan, but engine.run is blue. Like is that because one is standard library and one is not? Potentially, like these are things that I haven't even noticed before. But like yeah, like for some reason has value has the same highlighting as auto here, which is just a bit bizarre. And like for macros, yeah, I don't know about macros. I'll come back to that. But yeah, I would actually quite like to change this.
And I have a real example here in one of my projects. Let's go to Ghosty, Ostep, Odin, and in one of my tests, test Odin. There we go. In this file, I'm doing snapshot tests. I have a function here that returns an object. Then I serialize that to a string, and that's what I assert in my snapshot. So everything is fine. Strings are yellow, still yellow here. And when you get to this point right here, for this snapshot, everything starts failing. You can see it's changing right in front of me. Now the source code is yellow and the actual strings are white. During development, I'm not bothered by this because I have a minimal highlighting setup. So I can easily adjust to to my source code being yellow and my strings being white instead. Now imagine if I had a bunch of different colors here and
I get the argument, but realistically, okay, ideally, this should not be an issue in the first place. It's a sign of a bad LSP or a bad tree sitter highlighter. Like, it's just failing. So like, while it's useful for getting through with broken tooling, you shouldn't have broken tooling in the first place, ideally, right? If my highlighter was broken, then I would probably disable it just for that. But yeah, but like the argument is like, okay, well, but you're used to it, so then it's harder, right? Yeah. So to be fair, it's an interesting example here. But also this is just like a really stupid situation that really shouldn't happen, ideally.
now I'm getting...
No, not even ideally. Like, why is this happening? Like, I get it's Odin, so Odin might be undercooked in terms of its like features and stuff. But like, this is kind of silly.
disoriented because my code isn't the way I expect it to be. And that's just one of the productivity gains that I got.
I mean, if my code was just like something yellow and white, I would like that would distract me anyway. Like at that point, just remove the highlighting altogether. Honestly.
And reduction of cognitive load from using this minimal syntax highlighting. Going back to Firefox, the answer to less accurate highlighting caused by removing the LSP is to just use a minimal highlighting setup. It reduces your cognitive overload and you can focus more on writing code instead. Next up is autocomplete and snippets. Autocomplete and snippets help us write more code and discover APIs. But since discovering APIs is the next section, we'll focus on writing more code.
Okay.
LSP communicates with your editor to show autocomplete suggestions on the fly. And I'll demonstrate for completeness sake. Let's go back to GoC, open up a...
Another good thing about autocomplete actually is that it gets you to use better names. Like lots of programmers are used to using very cryptic names, very short names. Like even like print ln, you know, like printf, things that we're fairly familiar with. Like if you're seeing that for the first time, you probably guess that print ln is like print line, but like printf, like print format, not print file, print format, or like puts, puts is put string. Like those names were built for a time when compilers literally couldn't hold that much like memory. So like short identifiers were kind of necessary just to be able to compile in the first place under those technical limitations. Now we obviously don't have to worry about that at all. So we should strive to use more clear names. And that might mean that our names are a bit longer, but at the same time, if they're longer and you've autocomplete, it doesn't matter as much. It's not as big of a hassle to write down long function names. Now, I'm not saying you should go overboard. There is a limit, but like the autocomplete just definitely helps you with that.
A Golang project, and I downloaded my old Neovim configuration with LSP setup.
Like he just used autocomplete just there.
Let's go to my logger package and let's start with the autocomplete. So if I type in, let me zoom in. If I type in os dot and then press Control N, the exported functions and variables for the package will show up, and then I can scroll through them. Let's say I want to open a file. Where is it? Open. There you go. And I can type in a file. fd is equal to. There you go. And on the file descriptor, I can do period there. And
I really don't like Go, by the way. Like the way it uses capital letters for functions is dumb. It should be for types. Like types can have the same name as variables. Your functions will not have the same names as your variables. They shouldn't. And then like types are lowercase. And like the way that like the error handling works too, like you have to have two values. I don't like it.
Here we go. I can change directory on it. You get the idea. There's also code actions where, let's say I wanted to initialize all fields of this type explicitly. I press CA space and all the available code actions will show up. There you go. And one of the code actions is fill logger. There you can see it. It will initialize all fields. There's also snippets where if I'm typing in if it'll automatically complete the boilerplate code for me and it places me inside insert mode. I don't have it here in this setup, but you get the idea. And this is the power of autocomplete and snippets, and that it allows you to write more code and write code faster. On the other side of the fence, we have
using it to write more code doesn't make sense. It's more the faster. If you're using it to write more code, I don't know what you mean, and then I'm a bit like concerned because it's like, what do you mean more code? Is that useful code? but faster is the goal.
Bill, the creator of the Odin programming language. He's been programming for 20 years now. At 30 years old, he's never used LSPs, but he has tried IDEs that have autocomplete. And he found that using these IDEs was a hindrance to his productivity, and when he stopped using them, he got more productive. Moreover, he recommends to people learning new languages that they don't use a dedicated IDE like JetBrains or LSPs, and instead learn the actual language, the grammar, and the idioms, because when you're relying on the autocomplete magic, you don't internalize these things. And so
it's true when it comes to learning, yeah. But if you know the language, then the autocomplete is just handy. Like snippets, yes. Like I think you should build your own snippets for yourself. I don't like I didn't like when I went into C-line, for instance, and I tried to like create classes for me. Like I appreciate the feature, but if I'm not used to creating classes, that's going to be like really jarring. Whereas if I do it myself, you know, when I feel like it's a hindrance to me because now I understand it, and now I want to just get it over with. Like once it starts feeling redundant as opposed to like something I'm still learning, that is when I would add a snippet. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like again, it's just called making your workflow more efficient, and it's what we kind of should strive to do.
So in my current setup now, the way I automate boilerplate code is I have key maps that insert text and immediately places me in insert mode. So let's say I wanted to do if array is not equal to nil, I press EN in normal mode, and there you go. I have the guard check. And let's say I use a function that only returns an error. Let's say fd.change directory. There you go. I can press shift EN, and then it will inline the error declaration. The nice thing about this is now I'm creating snippets that are personalized for my workflow.
Yeah.
It's based on my empirical evidence, my personal experience of what kind of code I usually.
Exactly. That's a good argument, and you don't need an LSP for that. It's literally just text insertion. Like, I mean, I guess there's what's the snippets where like it autofills or something. Like right now, if I try to do well, I don't know, whatever. There are some cases I think. Well, maybe I can't demonstrate. Like if I try to do standard ranges transform, I think, and let's select this one. Notice how it is type arguments. I don't know if that's relevant, but for some reason it seems to be. Notice how it highlights these, right? So now I can edit my text. So range, I don't know, like let's say I put like foo, and then I press, I think it's tab, to go to the next one, then bar, and then there. Like notice how that was automatic. That might require an LSP. Does it though? I don't know if it does, but like it's different from like just having it do transform view and then I've typed myself, right? Also, what is this? Oh, it's a 4. Bro, yeah. So clearly there. I mean, I haven't used this yet because I only just set up my LSP. This is pretty handy actually. Having the for loop as well. Yeah, it's IC by default, and then like whatever. That's quite handy. But again, like I'd rather enable them as I want them, rather than them being enabled out of the box. So I'll see about that. Yeah.
And I'll show you my old setup. I also have key maps that insert log calls using the slog package, because I used the slog package a lot back then. And so if I was in insert mode and I press LE, it'll insert an error log. If I do LI, it's an info. And you'll notice that in LE, in the error log, I automatically add the error key and the error value. Embracing the setup, I found myself writing more code and knowing the language, grammar, and idioms by heart instead.
Yeah.
Autocompletes and snippets are useful for boilerplate code. I can confirm that. But you can make a lot of useful snippets without using LSPs.
Yeah.
You just need to learn how to personalize your editor.
But then what if I'm on a plane and I need to SSH into a terminal and it's crashing and I don't have my snippets on me? Well, it's fine because you still know how to write it by hand. So.
On another note, AI will replace snippets and code actions. Since you're part of any contemporary developer setup, prefer them instead. You can think of AI, autocomplete, as a much more powerful version of autocomplete and snippets from language servers.
Honestly,
this makes that use case of LSPs redundant, making it much more attractive to migrate away from this technology.
It's true.
Lastly, typing speed has never been the bottleneck at 100 plus words per minute. I've been a 152 words per minute typer on QWERTY, and I found myself regressing down to 100, 110 words per minute once I was coding for a long time without doing any kind of typing tests in between. Just because thinking about what to write takes more of my time instead of writing code.
It's true.
And also writing all these symbols, it significantly slows down your typing speed if you're not practiced on that.
Yeah. I want to get a good keyboard so I can also type fast, but like I type fast enough to be practical.
And before we move on, drink water, stay hydrated. I'll get my sip in. Okay. Moving on to API discovery, which is the extension of autocomplete. I'll show you how I use autocomplete for my API discovery. Let's go back to my old setup. There you go. Itlog. What I did beforehand, and for the longest time, for about 2 years, is that when I'm exploring
Why is this code highlighted though? Is this his setup? Because this has highlighting, which I don't understand.
when I learned all these new languages, when I started learning all these new languages, I would do this, Control N, and this is how I would explore all of the exported functions, completely basing it off of the function signature and what doc comments were available, which is completely ass backwards when you're trying to learn a language, because when you're learning the standard library, you should be looking at the implementation details. When I did want to read the implementation details, however, I could go to definition, and for the most part, this was sufficient, but it didn't really get me in the flow of just reading the implementation of the whole package.
Function hostname, return hostname. What? Is there a difference between like capitalized functions and lowercase functions in Go? Or is that a constructor for hostname, like the lowercase one? I don't know. Anyway, I wish C++ standard library was this easy to read.
And the different files that are related. You can see here that for the hostname, it has literally one dedicated file for it. So it doesn't incentivize me to read the surrounding context for this code. I also use this code action, which shows all of the implementations of an interface. For example, in the IO package, if you look at the writer interface, if I do CA space here, there's a code action that shows all the implementations of the writer interface in the standard library. I don't know why it's not showing up here though, but it was an essential part of how I learned the Go standard library. And that was sufficient for me to learn different languages in Go, Rust, Zig. But let's look at the other side of the fence again with Mitchell Hashimoto in this interview on his worst practices. Turn on captions.
Put it that way.
Got it. So tell us, what is your worst practice?
So I think my worst practice is a little bit more modern. I don't think this would have been a worst practice maybe 10 years ago, but it raises eyebrows now when I tell people. But I don't use, I use Vim, but I don't use any sort of code intelligence, language server, autocomplete, anything. Like the only thing I use is auto format on save, and it took me like until 2 years ago to get there. Like I like my editors to do nothing, so that kind of freaks people out, and I've gotten a lot of people saying, oh, that's you're working so much slower than you could be, or how can you possibly work that way, or it's whatever. But that's just how it works.
If you have a library that you're trying to use, how do you look up, another function in the API? Like how do you find what you're looking for?
My learning style is reading the reference manual, at least skimming it ahead of time. Maybe that's because I started programming 20, 30 years ago, but it's that. So in my mind, I sort of have a rough idea. Like I may not remember the exact arguments, the exact capitalization or wording, but like I'm like, oh yeah, there's a function like connect underscore whatever. When I was small, when I was young, I had a 2 hour a week computer time limit up until I was 18, and it was a week. And
wow.
The 2 hours also, if I had to do homework like type in Microsoft Word on paper, it counted. So I would end up doing a lot of programming by either doing it on paper or doing it in my head, and like to the point where I was like, okay, when I get to the computer, I have to just get it out and run it. It has to work because I don't have time to like go back and forth. Okay.
Shout out to worst practices for that interview. Mitchell Hashimoto's learning style is quite interesting, where he first learns the API, the reference manual, and has a general idea of what's available to him when he's writing code. And this rose from the restrictions placed on him when he was younger. And I relate to this learning style. When I learn a new technology, I read the reference manual first and foremost. Let's say NixOS, I first read the official wiki before watching YouTube videos and reading forums to get a better understanding of the higher level concepts and how to use it practically. And then I go back to the reference manual a second, a third, a fourth time to really understand how to apply.
Yeah, I need to start doing that because I have a habit of just jumping into things and then getting lost and being like, oh, what the fuck do I do? If I read the reference manual, I do generally have a good, what's the word? Like there's memory, right? Where like you could remember things, you can remember names and all that kind of thing, remember dates, whatever. But then I feel like there's like another kind of memory that's a bit different. Like improving one doesn't necessarily improve the other. I don't know. I'm not gonna get too technical because I don't know the details, but I feel like there's like a fuzzy memory where you have a there's a skill to recall things that you've like kind of seen before and kind of recognize. So I guess it's like pattern actually, like pattern memory. Like there's specific details memory and then there's like pattern memory, and I feel like I have quite decent, well, quite strong pattern memory, which I can take advantage of, right? So like if I read a reference, I will remember. Oh yeah, there's like something for that, something for that, something for that. Like he said, like there's some like connect underscore function, whatever. Like I am actually quite good at that, so I should take advantage of it by reading the docs. Otherwise, I'm just going in blind and like relying probably too much on AI as well, to like tell me how to do things. Because like usually what I've done in the past has been like, okay, I'm gonna jump in here, Claude, how do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do this? And, like I'm learning that way. Like it is actually learning, and like I don't rely on the AI in the future for that thing because I do learn it. But it's just that the AI is a lot slower because it's asking for certain features when I need it, and it doesn't tell me about features I'm not aware of either, right? Or like things. Whereas if I read the documentation, it's like, oh, okay, so I can do that. Okay, yeah, I wouldn't have thought that was an option in the first place. Plus, I'm just skimming it, so like I get through a lot faster. So I do need to start doing that. But like I could make the excuse like a lot of the time I don't even know if I want to use something yet. Like I haven't committed to it. But first of all, I can figure out if I want to use it or not by skimming the docs, because like if the docs should tell me if it's good or not as well. But also like there are things like SDL3, for instance, that I am committing to for my game that I kind of should read because I'm committing to it. So like I still haven't got, like just read through and like skimmed through the SDL3 documentation. I haven't. I've so far only looked at the stuff I need. Same with like Qt. I haven't had like a proper look through Qt, so yeah, I should really do that. Get into that habit.
The specific features available. Again, my old approach and Mitchell Hashimoto's way of learning showcases the spectrum of how to discover APIs. And as you can guess, the best approach is always the middle ground approach. And I think I found that with my new way of exploring libraries. In my current setup, let's change directory into the Go standard library first. Now, I take advantage of Fuzzy Finder and ripgrep and using regex for everything. Let's say I wanted to explore the IO package. I do s space, which brings up these available regex that I pre-configured. And let's say I wanted to see all of the available functions in the IO package. Let's remove the preview for now. And here I get all of the exported functions and methods. And you can see at the top the specific regex I used to filter the text. And then I filtered out the test files. Let's zoom this out so we can see what I'm searching for. The advantage of this over my old approach is that now I can fuzzy find things that I didn't even know existed. So for example, hey, is there
That's handy actually. Having grep presets, that's very useful.
a function that tells me if something is a directory, is there. And there you go. Most of them are methods. And so now I'm thinking, how do I get a file mode type or a file mode object? So I search for file mode. There you go, and I get all of the methods available there. Same idea with types. I can look for the exported types here. And let's bring back the preview. I can read the implementation detail. This addresses another limitation of my old approach, as I mentioned, which is that I'm not easily exposed to the implementation details of the library. Whereas in here, as I'm scrolling through the entries, I'm already reading the preview of these different types. For flexibility, I also have the any option, which just defaults to an empty regex expression, and I can search for whatever I want to. Let's say I'm interested in whatever writer method there is. Here you go. And now all of the writer methods in IO are available here.
There is an issue in that you do need to learn regex, and regex isn't a beautiful thing. But like I use regex for like search and replace. There's definitely more complex like search and replacing I could do if I mastered regex. So yeah, I mean maybe it's worth also just taking time to learn regex properly. It's just like it's just like kind of like evaluating how useful will it actually be to me, because I know there are alternatives to regex as well, because regex itself is, I mean, it's old and it is flawed, but you know what, I use C++, and you know, if anything is old and flawed, it is that. So
Currently, I'm also learning about Rust, which is a great way to stress test this new approach, because now I'm learning a completely new standard library.
I should be taking notes on this video. I think YY. I'm sorry, I'll ignore. Yeah, that copies a link, which is just handy. So Obsidian, that's not Obsidian. I changed the keybind. There's a lot that my brain is like asking time to adjust to because of all the fucking changes I've made. Oh my god, I wish I had a keybind to just make a new source note, but I don't have that. So I have to go to my files, I just scroll up, find my sources, right click, new note. There we go. So title be damned. This is this. YouTube ID, redundant. Yeah, so I mean, really, I should check these notes as I went through the video. Oh well. I like how actually now, so my current keybinds are B for browser, N for notes, M for messenger, and L for LLM, sorry. And I do like how B and N are next to each other, because because like before I had to like do B and then O and B and then O for Obsidian, but now it's just B and N, and for those who don't know, QWERTY has them next to each other, so it's very quick. Anyway, so right, let me go by section here. So syntax highlighting. I agree that a lot of popular syntax highlighting. Bro, I really need my Vim. Like, I need Vim mode in Obsidian. I know it exists, but it's just not satisfactory. Like, I need it, bro. I'm gonna put highlighting is. Should I get Vim mode? I could also just open it in Vim, to be fair. Yeah, after this, I might watch that video from, I think Salar is his name, on his Obsidian and Neovim workflow, because I just hate typing without Vim keybinds. Like, I am dependent on that, and I'm happy being dependent on it, because it is just such a difference. Also, my hands are cramping. I really need to get a new keyboard, or like an external keyboard, because the one on my laptop is just not, like, my fingers are actually too big. And like, my fingers aren't even that long particularly, but this keyboard's it's just a very small laptop. So I view that a lot of public syntax highlighting is just noise and doesn't actually contribute to making code easier to read. If anything, it actually makes you, it actually actively encourages you to be a worse programmer, right? So, for instance, things that I would never highlight, things that I think should not be highlighted. For instance, there are things that I think should not be highlighted. Variable and function identifiers should be the same. Otherwise, programmers are encouraged to differentiate them based on color alone, and therefore use function names that could otherwise be mistaken for variables, such as size. Yes, most languages have size versus size. Whatever, yeah. It's one reason no discard was created, since it's unclear whether... what's the classic example for no discard? Is it clear? No, clear is pretty clear. Like it is like clear is a directive, but like there's some words that are both nouns and verbs if you're not careful. Like not length, not size. There was a really good example. Oh my god, I've lost it. I can't remember what it was. Yeah, it doesn't matter. But point is, yeah. That's one thing. Comments should not be grayed out, as this encourages spamming them unnecessarily, because they can just be chewed out. If anything, comments should particularly stand out, as they would be important notes. Self-documenting code is always preferred. Doc comments are another discussion. Yeah. So that one, likewise, namespaces should not be grayed out. If the namespace is unimportant, if the namespace can be easily inferred, then qualify it. What's the word? What's the word? What's the general term for discarding a namespace? E.g., using namespace standard in C++. Hello? Yeah, but you're hungry. One of the cats is very scared of me, and it means he also just sometimes doesn't eat, which is not good. A using directive. Yeah, but what is the term? Yeah, but what is the action of discarding it called? Opening. Okay. Then opening the namespace should be fine. E.g., using namespace, or like using standard print line, let's say. Otherwise, they should be the same color as other identifiers, since they are effectively part of the fuller title, right? Or the fuller name. Okay, and what else is there? Literals, doesn't matter. Keywords. I guess that's the main thing. Types as well. Types don't need to be highlighted. since they should already be, since like how functions should never be nouns, they should be uppercase so as not to conflict with variable names, such that declarations like TT are fine. Obviously, you shouldn't do TT. That's a horrible name, but and is that it? I mean, I do have code here I can look at. Yeah, so namespace operators, I think, should be highlighted. They're kind of noisy. Keywords should be highlighted. Return should be highlighted. But like anything that should be highlighted, that usually is. Like macros, or I mean, they're basically keywords as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. And then from this, we can focus on highlighting things that actually matter. So bro, I hate the sound that ice cream trucks make here in the UK. It sounds like a villain is going around kidnapping children, like an evil like Pennywise clown. I don't understand why they are so creepy. It's almost like they're designed to be creepy. And like when I hear it, I get sick because I imagine eating that slop, that goy slop. I'm like, like gelatos are good. If you have a chance to like go to Europe and try gelato, it's amazing. But the icing they put in ice cream trucks, don't. And I'd be like Europe, like Spain, Italy, Hungary. That's where the good stuff is. Anyway, so things that actually matter, like keywords. Yeah. Keywords are generally just noise that we filter out, and while still being necessary for the compiler, and so they can, yeah. Important control flow. Control flow disruptors. Disruptor. That's a word, isn't it? How did I misspell that? Disruptors. Yeah, that's correct. I hate how the dictionary, like, I don't know why my dictionary is so limited. Like, what the hell? Control flow disruptors, like return and break, and even question mark, should need to stand out as they yeah. Well, as they disrupt, expected, how we are used to reading code procedurally. The same doesn't apply to for and if. I'd argue. I mean, for and if are fairly well contained, Like, you could make control flow all one color, but like you don't really care about for and if. It's more just returns and breaks that like are like particularly important. And usually because like a return indicates an error as well. Like early returns indicate that the code after it will not be executed. Yes, the same is true for if statements, except it's not true because those are scoped. For and if statements are different since they are clearly scoped. And code execution continues normally after they end. Yeah, that's the logic. Yep. Comments. Comments should stand out as much as errors, as much as should stand out, as they should only be used where they are important. If they feel distracting, they probably, if a comment looks too distracting for its content, it's probably not worth being there. Literals are, yeah, so literals, you don't have to do literals, I know, because like numbers are pretty easy to differentiate. But I don't know, like there's just something about literals. I guess it's partly because they stand out as like magic numbers as well. So there's that aspect of it. Literals, both strings and otherwise. Enums too, maybe? Wait, would enums count as well? That's an interesting discussion. Strings and otherwise. String literals can easily be confused for, well, can be confused for identifiers, or well, can blur with identifiers, and so they should have special coloring. Likewise, escape characters within strings should also stand out from the rest of the string. Would I have a different color for integer literals, or the same? I don't know, actually. I'd argue that other literals, like numbers, booleans, and potentially enums, should also stand out. To highlight magic numbers, or to highlight magic values. Yeah. To highlight magic values in code. And then finally, punctuation. Punctuation slash symbols can be dulled because similar to keywords, well, because much like keywords, They are more just there for the compiler. And generally don't hold much, yeah, and can generally be glossed over. Exceptions should be made for the likes of early return, which might be hard to configure, so I do wonder about that, but I would like an LSP that's highly configurable, so we'll see. Or not, well, LSP. Autocomplete. Did we kind of go past? Yeah, we went past autocomplete. To be fair, if you aren't relying on autocomplete for API anymore, how much do you benefit from it just showing you the full name of something? For me, it's more about just not making typos, because I'm very prone to making typos at the moment, partly because my keyboard is not the most ergonomic. Although funnily, it's still more ergonomic than my last computer. I've just had like my history with computers, like it's slowly getting better, but like I'm still on a Lenovo ThinkPad X13 Yoga. Like that's like the latest development in my progress in technology, and it's like that's the best I've had so far. My last computer was a Windows Asus VivaBook, which is newer than this one, has like a proper like GPU, MX250, which isn't great, but like it's still better than an integrated GPU, and it was somehow worse. And the keyboard was also worse. It was shit. Like this feels like a blessing in comparison. Like it's not even like a particularly strong computer, powerful computer, nor is it the most like the best layout. Like, but just in comparison, it's like it's insanely good, amazing. Yeah, so autocomplete. Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. Like, it's just catching errors that you make, because typos in particular are hard to find. Especially if you, like, a lot of the time, it's just like a unknown identifier error, but sometimes the typo can be in such a way that it literally, like, the compiler gives you a completely irrelevant error message that you don't understand, and you're like, what? And then that can happen for you. I mean, does it happen that often? Like, does autocomplete really help with that? Debatable. Will I keep using autocomplete? Probably anyway, because I don't see a reason not to. Like, that's one of those things where it's like, I shouldn't rely on autocomplete for API reference, I agree. But like, if I lost it, then it's like one of those features where it's purely just for a bit of convenience, and I do not depend on it. And I think that's okay. I think that's an okay spot to be. But anyway, sorry. So this is cool. grep and regex. So API discovery. I think it'd be worth learning regex, more specifically rip grep. Is it called rip grep? Because no, that'd be reap grep, regex, reap grep. As it would allow me to search and replace much more power with much more power, and rely less on LSP tooling to do so.
And new language. Let's now go to the Rust standard library. And one of the first things that I tried learning was how to spawn an external process. And so I assumed that it was in the standard library here. And I started searching for a spawn function. So here we go. And there's no spawn function. I tried execute instead. I tried exec. Oh, and then there's this thing which is output. and it takes in a command type, and that was pretty much on the money. And you can see here the power of fuzzy finder, where I wrote a completely unrelated expression. None of these entries have the substring exec, but it showed me exactly what I needed, which is this output command, or this output function instead. So now,
Okay, that is outrageously lucky though. Like, the fact that it just happens to have exit status and vec is complete luck. But the benefit is more so just that, like, it gets you looking through random things sometimes, and you can sometimes find what you want. Yeah, I was like it increases your chances of finding stuff, right?
I'm starting to look for methods on this command struct. And when I'll mention that when I'm inside a file and I start searching for things, all of the entries are scoped to that file. Whereas if I'm in a directory view and I do a search again, now it's showing all of the available functions for that directory and all of its subdirectories recursively. In the Golang, when I'm inside a Golang project, everything is always package scoped. So even when I'm inside a buffer, a file buffer, and I do a search, it'll always show all of the available functions in the whole package, not just the file itself. And I do it this way because in Rust, individual files can be standalone modules. Going back to what we were doing, which is looking for methods on the command type, if we start searching for it again, remove the preview, you can see here all of the methods on the command type. And I can assume that these are the methods on the command type because the way I have it set up is that all of the entries are sequential. So if we have an impl command before all of these methods and these are indented, then you can assume that these are for the impl command block specifically. I think it's quite evident the power of this new approach. And I've been using this for quite a while now, and my insights from doing this is that API discovery through autocomplete is a mediocre developer experience. And I can assume that these are the methods on the command type because individual files can be standalone modules. Going back to what we were doing, which is looking for methods on the command type, if we start searching for it again, remove the preview, you can see here all of the methods on the command type. And I can assume that these are the methods on the command type because the way I have it set up is that all of the entries are sequential. So if we have an impl command before all of these methods and these are indented, then you can assume that these are for the impl command block specifically. I think it's quite evident the power of this new approach. And I've been using this for quite a while now, and my insights from doing this is that API discovery through autocomplete is a mediocre developer experience. Using fuzzy finder and libgrep enables finding APIs you didn't even know existed. Opening library source files is streamlined, which leads to reading implementation details more often. And as Ginger Bill and Michio Hashimoto testifies to, doing this actually helps you remember the APIs and internalize their idioms instead. Moving on to refactoring, which is one of the biggest selling points for LSPs and dedicated IDEs, especially for object-oriented programming languages like C# and Java, where there's a lot of boilerplate code. For Golang specifically, the LSP handles renaming variables, code actions that shift the order of parameters around, and I'll showcase it here. Let's go back to my project, which is Golang Next. Let's say I want DST to be the second parameter instead. Now, if I do code action, there's this code action move parameter, right? And you can see all of the changes it made on the different call sites. Here we go. It switched the order of the arguments themselves as well.
Right. Yeah, that's really
very useful. There's also renaming. So for source, if I do grn and I name it ARST, there we go. Everything is renamed. I can also do it here, grn. There you go. And it also is updated on every usage. These refactoring capabilities of LSPs are a huge quality of life improvement. Specifically, because LSP updates all code affected during refactoring, like renaming variables, reordering function parameters. In my current setup, I have no alternative for these features. I only have one for renaming variable names, which is dependent on regex expressions, and I'll show you the workflow there. If I wanted to rename the DST variable here in this function, I'd highlight this whole function scope, and then press SR, which will do a find and replace DST, and you can see that all of the DST variables are now changed, and I can do this. Press enter, and there you go. It's simple but much more capable than what people expect.
Use SR for just replace.
Press enter, and there you go. It's DST, and you can see that all of the DST variables are now changed, and I can do this.
Yeah, I mean, that works for simple cases.
It's simple but much more capable than what people expect. And the experience can be made nicer by just keeping in mind to use unique variable names that are easily greppable. True. This not only improves the renaming experience, but also the grepping of this variable throughout the whole file. For example, I have a convention that for all logger variables and identifiers, I always use the identifier LGR, which makes it easy to look for all the logger instances in the file. Here we go. So there's more than 100 logger usages in here. Imagine if I instead made this the lowercase logger with the full word spelled out. There you go. Now, when I'm searching for logger, it will clash with the actual logger type. Here, I'm matching on the...
That is not a good excuse to not have case-sensitive searching. You can enable that, I think. not, what's the word? You can, I mean, honestly, just enable it, honestly. Like, case sensitive searching is quite useful.
Capitalize logger struct also. And I can do case sensitive search here to specifically look for logger variables, but it's just more involved than just having a straight up unique variable name like this.
I'd rather be more involved than having logger.
You understand? So again, I have a global search, find and replace here with SR in normal mode, and this will replace all loggers in the file. I can also do this in visual mode, which scopes this find and replace to that selection. A logger, there you go, and then the other loggers are still LGR. Where are the other loggers? There you go. And do that, and back. On the other side of the fence, we have Karzolinski, who is a game developer, and he wrote the first book on the Odin programming language. This is from the Discord. This is from the official Odin Discord channel. He says that, yeah, go to definition doesn't cut it when you're not 100% sure what you're looking for. Not having LSP makes me less likely to split things into separate files because I can get good completion in Sublime for things that are not in the current file. With LSP, you do get that, and finding stuff in other files of your project becomes easier. It directly affects my project structure. To generalize what he's saying here is that when you have LSPs and dedicated IDEs, it reduces the friction in refactoring the codebase. It also reduces the friction in creating a lot of indirection in your project structure by splitting everything into multiple files, which you just saw in the gold standard library earlier.
Is that good or bad? I guess it depends on the person. Like, I've personally never compromised on having my files split just because I can't search for stuff easily. And I do have grep across all my files anyway, so yeah, I wouldn't compromise on good code for that. Because like I made all those notes about the syntax highlighting, but like these are things that I'm already aware of and follow, regardless of the syntax highlighting. The highlighting is more just background noise. So like I'm aware of these things anyway. So it's more now just configuring my tools to match my workflow. So,
which has a single method or a single function in the whole file, the hostname function for the OS package. I was supposed to show how to rename variables using regex only after this slide, but I already demonstrated it, so let's move on. My insights on my current setup is that long and unique variable names are incentivized, improving readability and especially grepability of the code. It also adds more friction in splitting code into multiple files, adding indirection in your project structure, making it simpler.
He said long unique variable names are incentivized, but then he called it lugger, which is not good. More friction is in code into multiple files, simplifies project structure. Right, so saying that that's a good thing. Yeah, it is a good thing. Like the LSP would kind of motivate you to rely on that for navigation. Which is not what you want. Like, one reason I don't like how Python doesn't have a main function and how the entry point is just the file. Granted, it is a scripting language, so it's different. But like, the reason I wouldn't have that for like a systems programming language is because then it makes it difficult to find the entry point function, like find the main function. Whereas if I can just grep for it, we're chilling. It's also why I wouldn't call, like I was thinking about calling my function, my main, like, so I'm, for those who don't know, I'm developing, developing a language called True, a programming language. And one thing I was thinking about was, well, because like in this language, I don't care about convention, I care about what works. And so I was thinking it'd make more sense to rename main to start, right? Like it's your start function. You call start and the project starts. And so I was thinking about that, but then I was like, well, but then people will conflict the name, right? Like start is a fairly common function name when it comes to any like app or game or whatever architecture. And so then if I wanted to do a grep search for my main function, that's the entry point of my program, I couldn't do that because then I'd have conflicting things. And then it would become like a practice inside this language for people to not use start, which is not what I want. So main, although it doesn't make sense as a function name, really, like, yeah, it's the main function, but like calling it doesn't make sense. But A, that's fine because you don't call it. Like, you don't call it. So that's fine. And second of all, main is a very unique thing. Like, you wouldn't really call anything main because it's an adjective, you know? And adjectives like that are not common in variable names or function names. Like, it's like calling your variable stinky. Like, it just doesn't make sense unless stinky is like a name for something, you know, or like, or like tall, like, yeah, like, so to that end, main is actually a pretty good fit. Same reason why entry wouldn't work, because entry is also like, you know, like the entry of a struct, for instance, or like the entry of a vector or a collection. So that wouldn't work. Entry point is not a bad name though. So maybe entry point is what I should do. But yeah. But point in case, start was not a good name.
There's also more friction in refactoring, which clarifies when to hack and when to polish.
When to hack, when to polish. What does that mean?
Moving on.
Okay.
Inline error messages. And I'll showcase this, but you've already seen it earlier. And it's just about having this in your editor directly. There you go. And my alternative here is to just use a quick fix list combined with the make program feature of Neovim. Inside a Go project, I first set the make program variable. This is going to get run whenever you do the make command. So here I set it to go build scratch.go. There you go. And now let's add an error to this file. And I do make. Oh, let's save it first. And if I do make, there you go. I get all of these syntax errors. Now I've automated this so that when I'm saving the file through my key map, it adds all of those errors to my quick fix list. So when I do Control E, there you go. All of the errors are down below, and I can sift through them and moving my.
That's good actually. That's a really good setup. So then you only get them when you compile as well, which I do actually like.
Cursor to the error location directly. Now, there's a bug here where since I'm using 8-space indentation, it's not actually going to the exact column, but that's fine. And that's about it. If I needed more information on the errors, I can go to the command line and specifically build here.
Do I still use 8-space? No, I use 4-space. For Go, yeah, for Go, I use 8-space, but I use 4-space for C++ now because of how stupidly long a bunch of standard library things are. You know, standard range transform and type shit like that. Like having 8-based indentation is just kind of hellish for that. Plus classes adds another layer of things of like indentation, whereas C does not have that. So C doesn't have to worry about that, but C++ kind of does. So yeah, but like standard expected, standard string, you know, like in one thing like that. Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of 8-space for that reason, but I did use it for a long time before that, or before this.
In other languages like Odin and Rust, you'd have more information on what exactly is wrong.
Yeah, inline error. There's a cool setup where you can have errors reported by the compiler added to your quick fix list, such that you can just use that for errors, for finding errors. Issue is though, it's like again for C++, it's still it's like, however, there are some nifty features of an LSP, like detecting if a header / module, well, if a header is used or not, that some compilers won't pick up. Yeah. But there may be workarounds to this. Yes, it means more setup, but
it's with the error. But inside the editor, you simply need a good summary of the error, and you usually know what's wrong. After using this for a while, I figured that it's essentially the same experience, which is a...
The issue is, why? Like, it's a good experiment to say I don't need to rely on the LSP, but you do need to like set up your own kind of workflow for each language then. Like, would I want to do this all for like Lua, for instance, or would I prefer to just use the LSP? Because I don't like coding Lua often enough to really give a shit. Like, the main draw for me to not using LSP would just be the speed of it. And relying, not even relying on it, but like being too, like abusing it to negative code effect.
Good thing. I have a slight preference for the new approach, however, since the errors are now scoped to the lower portion of my screen instead of showing up in line to where my cursor is, which is kind of distracting when I know that there are errors in my file, but I don't want to acknowledge them at first. Because, for example, here, there's a lot of errors, but it can be simply fixed with this right here, and all the errors are gone. And sometimes I just want to ignore that and go on with my day. In conclusion, LSP servers are greatly complex for what they bring to the table. Workflows arising from LSPs are inferior to what's possible when embracing the versatility of a lean toolchain, personal development environment, plus fuzzy finder, plus rig prep. Removing LSPs not only reduces the surface area of our development environment, but also amplifies our growth as developers. The end.
Clap, 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 clap. Cool. So some footnotes here. I was going to say that the main motivation is security and portability. Rather, these are additional motivations for the effort. The main thesis is reducing dependencies. Okay, yeah, because like those, I wasn't convinced by those arguments. Another motivation for not using LSPs is that they're memory hogs. Yep. My old day driver was a laptop with 4 gigabytes of memory. My laptop was like 8 gigabytes of memory, I think, maybe even 16 gigabytes, and yet it still feels like it doesn't. Then again, but like, I'm running what? I'm running Discord, which is, quite heavy, and then like Claude, which shouldn't be that heavy, Obsidian, which really shouldn't be heavy, and then a browser. And although these tabs look like they're all open, they're actually all unloaded. They just, for some reason, Firefox isn't dimming them, so like they aren't hogging as much as they otherwise would be. Otherwise, my computer would just like slow to a crawl, which is kind of ridiculous. Like, why is it so slow? I'm also recording on Obsidian, to be fair. I think that's probably the bigger thing. And right now my CPU is on 12%. It's quite nice. I wonder if that's partly because I closed Discord, because apparently Discord on Linux has hella memory leaks, and that's not good. It means you have to restart it a bunch of like fairly frequently, or else you're just going to build up more and more wasted memory. I accidentally edited out why I even brought up antithesis in the first place. They demonstrate a real company. Yeah, okay. I don't mean to imply that FSF will intelligently find semantically related results to your search query. It's mere coincidence that when I typed in exec, the exact function I was looking for showed up. Yeah, but like that was incredibly lucky. Like I don't know why you would use that as an actual example. I should have mentioned that when doing find and replace in Neovim, the C option can be appended to the command, which enables selectively replacing each match. Oh, I didn't know that. That's really good to know. Thank you. So if I do like maybe engine, replace with like M engine, then do C, press enter. So I think enter is at default, right? It's not. So like yes. That didn't work. Is it GC? Yes. Nope. Look at the errors. Like already this is really distracting me because I don't care about that. How do you do that? He said C. Is that built in or is it a thing? Is it SC? Oh wait, I have to do global, right? So so maybe engine with M engine, and then C. What's it? Oh no, G means the whole line. So GC would be the whole line. Okay. So like yes, yes, yes. Okay, there you go. Yeah, that's good. Cool. I didn't know that. Good tip there. Yeah. Footnotes. Cool tip. appending tip, appending C to a search and replace goes lets you selectively choose but what is happening here? Like it's like tweaking out depending on the letter I do. Choose which what? Let's you choose which ones to replace. E.g. boom boom s/ foo with bar gc. What the fuck? Why is it doing that? That's so annoying. Okay, whatever. Yeah, that's a good tip. Good video. Honestly, a really good video. One of the best videos I've watched in a while in terms of like actually being useful and thoughtful. That was good. I'm happy. Because I almost didn't watch that, but I was like, you know what? I'll hear this out. Maybe I'll change my mind. And I did. I actually did. Before this, I wasn't really thinking about discarding my LSP that I just spent way too long setting up. There's an alt check for certain kinds of refactors. Let's say you get a struct and machine name a field. Just rename it and then run make. Go to have files have to be with the project. Yeah, exactly. Like if you rename something, they could probably tell you where it is, so that's also fine. I don't know what that means. But yeah, that's really good. Kind of obvious though, but yeah. Danzig, you're a very challenging guy. Yeah, this comment was fucking weird, dude. Danzig, you're a very intelligent guy. I really enjoy your videos. You have a unique approach to dealing with certain universally agreed upon topics, which I find very admirable. Congratulations on your channel. I wish you good health and success. It's actually selecting things from autocomplete actually is slower. I was thinking like if you get used to it, it can be really fast, but like it's not the same, especially like when you already know what you're typing. I disagree that LSP is complex. The implementations are because languages they serve are inherently complex. Of course, it has cons, but what you're doing is going away from LSP to implement parts of what it provides yourself with more primitive utilities. But it's faster though. Neovim is a very complex piece of software, not comparable to any LSP server, but its UI is extremely simple. This is the reason why I wrote my own text editor instead, to make implementing custom text editor behavior more simple and approachable. That's probably because yours wasn't built to be as generic as Neovim. Yours was built for your workflow already. That's not really it's the best comparison. I don't buy the reasoning of ditching LSP for security portability. Attack surface area, oh yes, yeah, that's fine. Perpetuity is not valid either, yeah. Because you're not sticking to VI plus grep. Neovim, RGFSF, and available out of the box and arbitrary systems, yeah. This was pinned, now it's not. I never said LSP is helping complex. I said it's as complex as compilers. Yeah, he did. That's true. Evaluating the complexity of compilers is up to the viewer. Gingerbill thinks compilers are simple, for example. I argue that the complexity of LSP plus the workflows that revolve around it does not outweigh the benefits. Yeah, so that was the original argument. And now that he's presented it, I'm inclined to agree. If you think LSP is simple, that's fine, but it's still a heavy-handed protocol. It's slow. That's the main thing. What's the problem with implementing LSP features for utilities? I made it quite clear that my new approach was more powerful. Yep. Good reply. I'm not aiming for absolute portability. The best straightforward. Reduce dependencies, improve security and portability. The significance of this is up to the viewer. These are the main benefits. Maybe we should have made it the focus. Okay. Also, installing Neovim, I'm not different than installing FT servers. It's true but irrelevant. I'm talking about reducing dependencies. Security-wise, whatever. And if there's anything you should take away from this video, compromise is always best. You can still use LSP in combination with my newfound workflow. You can, and you probably find that you just don't need the LSP. What? I do think you would be better with running something like VS Code. The whole single point of Neovim is the native LSP and the plugin ecosystem. People like that comment? What? The whole single point of Neovim is a native LSP. What native LSP? Like a very basic one. But like you don't need it by any means. And the plugin ecosystem. No? Maybe for Neovim over Vim, yeah. But people who use Neovim these days wouldn't use it because they want Neovim over Vim per se. It's more just that Neovim is the newer Vim, so that will draw more people. Like when I chose between Vim and Neovim, like it wasn't like, oh, I can get plugins for this. No, it's more just like, okay, Neovim's the more, you know, it's now the replacement, so it's now the more active one. So I'll just use Neovim because it's better maintained. It has Lua for config files, which is better than VimScript. That was my main motivation. But fucking VS Code? That's insane, bro. For a decade, I was using a $600 laptop. Literally, every keystroke took 1 to 3 seconds to register on VS Code. You have zero knowledge. Who's that for? Who's that for? Was it this guy before he changed his name? You have zero knowledge on why I prefer... Yeah, probably the same guy. You have zero knowledge on why I prefer using Neovim. I know the alternatives and don't care about them. There's a reason why I didn't show the implementation of my alternative workflows. It's supposed to be editor agnostic. On my end, your comment seems to have been deleted, so I've rendered all your replies here. Honestly, do you think you'd be better with running something like VS Code? That's not necessary if you have a Mac. Nothing stopping you from using VS Code because or any fork, or if you prefer it, to run with Helix. What? Look, I agree. I'd rather use LSP, but it seems weird to claim that VS Code is less tied to LSP than Neovim is. Obviously. Bro, are people lying to themselves about VS Code not being slow? I guess they just haven't tried Neovim and like a Neovim workflow. For me, like it's night and day. Like switching to Linux from Windows as well. Like it's not even remotely different. Like it's not even remotely comparable. Like it is night and day. Like one is just like Linux is just so much faster and so much nicer and so much more configurable. Finally, a video about a topic I'm interested in. Cool. On one hand, I think the dedication to the craft is great and I might try this. On the other, I know that many are not going to dedicate a similar amount of time. It's true. Maybe for the dedicated software engineer, the setup is the local optimum. I don't think working with LSPs is the global optimum for everyone making software. Without, yeah. Exactly. Migrating away from LSP should be considered by everyone, computational scientists alike. This is the thing though, as I said, right? There are genuine good practices that come up from this. But it's less that because like it's easy to disable an LSP, but it's not easy to then set up the workflows that this guy has set up as like alternatives. Because then like you need to learn regex, ideally, so you can use grep effectively. You need to have grep. You probably need to use Neovim so you can have all those shortcuts on hand. Otherwise, doing these things is going to be a lot more of a hassle. The premise is reducing dependencies. It was never about one workflow being better than the other. The global option for DX, as that is highly dependent on the person. This takes a subjectivity out of it and the grounds the discussion in engineering. My video simply shares the success that I found in pursuing this ideal. Yeah, no, but like one workflow is easier than the other. That's the main thing. It's more, which, you know, again, like that is good or bad, but like the fact of the matter is the vast majority of people are not going to want to do this because it's not worth their time. Well, they don't see it as worth their time. Even if you do, they're not going to choose it. Mind you, he said, I don't think working without LSPs is a global option for everyone making software. I disagree. That much isn't true. But like this statement here is true. But just because they won't doesn't mean they shouldn't. Oh, please. Bruh. I need these cats to like catch these fucking flies because they keep coming in. Good content, bro. It's similar setup. It says I need easy portability for my job, and minimalism is good for achieving that. C tags. I really liked your takes. I gave most of them. I remember days before Neovim, I didn't have any autocomplete or other related features, and everything was fine. But now I depend a lot upon them. Zen. Yeah, the whole idea of Zen is very interesting. Like, you want to be in the zone, right? And not get distracted and pulled out of it. And a big part of that is definitely your editor. Like, my ability to code has improved so much more with Neovim just because I don't have so many distractions, and I'm not constantly like having to reach for my mouse, which breaks me out of my flow state. Bro. Try to change your camera angle.
Reducing dependencies.
Yeah, he's actually really small, to be fair. Not that I'm much better, but I'm fucking out of frame over here. But yeah. This is cool. This is really good. This was a really good video. I must say this was a really good video. This was a surprisingly good video. Given it's literally a PowerPoint presentation with him talking over it. It shows that you don't need to be like no boilerplate with your piano music in the background. Is that even true? Am I thinking of? I'm probably thinking of the math guy, Theme Blue and Brown. Although these aren't educational videos per se, these are more like opinion articles type videos. Anyway, yeah, that was a good video. And let me actually take notes of this. See, I have to set up like some kind of global Obsidian commands. Like, I should have a plugin for Obsidian that automatically gets the information from this video. Because it really is a hassle to do this, and it honestly stops me from like doing it more often, like taking notes more often sometimes. That's the title, right? Links will not work with file names containing any of these characters. Okay. Just remove that part of the title then. Danzig James Orakos, full name. Orcales. I like Orcales. That sounds cool. Like, that's how I will choose to mispronounce it, because I don't know what the actual pronunciation is. 2026. Oh, it's 5. That's right. Not too old, but still fairly old. By my standards, anyway. Authors, Danzig, James Orcales. 6. I was like, this is redundant. Like, the title should probably reflect this. Then again, I don't know. Tags, online video, preview. Let's grab that thumbnail. Say cheese. That's right. It has the black bars for reasons I do not understand. It's really annoying. Like this too, like I have to go into the file, rename the file, put preview at the end, as I do for all of them. Like surely this can be automated. Then I need to get back to where I was. So I have this, but like this gets clogged up with loads of different things. Then I need to put it here. Then remove it from here, and doom. Now we're done. And now if I go to my all sources, there it is. Yeah. Cool. Well. So, I will honestly get onto this. Onto implementing some of these things. It's really just getting used to using grep, right? That's the main thing. But then also the quick fix. I should really get used to using quick fix. So before I wrap up this video, even though it's already almost 2 hours, but whatever, I'm going to configure my LSP right now. So I will use Claude in this case. How do I go about configuring my syntax highlighting for C++ in Neovim? I use ClangD, which is installed via Mason. I use the ClangD LSP, which I have installed via Mason, although can it be done without an LSP too? Because I don't want that to rely on it. Okay, so the thing that ClangD adds on top is more of like a correction than it is like a separate service. So that's good. But how do I configure the highlighting or customize the highlighting? That's LSP, right? That's different. I just need to know which commands to use and where to put them. So inspect. Special. This is for auto, right? Sorry, so this one is LSP, this one is tree sitter, yeah. So built-in type, that's auto. So then why is this one being different? It's not. So tree sitter actually processes it correctly. It's my LSP for some reason that sees this. And it's like, nah, actually this should be green. Links to type. What? I mean, that's just weird how that's even a thing. Why is that different? That doesn't make sense. Print line isn't built in. Again, tree sitter just says, nah, it's a function call. So it's blue. But then my LSP says, nah is default library, so you should make it blue. It's like, okay. So weirdly enough, it's my LSP that's making it weird, and tree sitter is actually quite like the better default. Standard is a type, but module. Okay, so but like it knows it's a module, so I can change it. That's good. What's this? Just keyword. Just keyword. The LSP doesn't care about it. But then return isn't a keyword. I mean, it's good that I can single it out. Keyword return or CPP. Okay. I mean, I'd assume that's like a common enough thing that people want to be different. And that's why it's a different color. And like this identifier. Variable. Yeah. But then this one is what, like a struct field? Property. Okay. Standard error. It's like a built-in. Yeah, it's a built-in constant. But my LSP says that's a macro. Is it? So it gives it the same highlighting as it does this. Keyword import preprocessor. That's weird. That's also a thing. I like how the escape characters though. I like how those are different. Yeah, string escape. That's good. Okay, and literals. Link to number. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So this has been very eye-opening. Right. Come on. Give me some instructions here. Put them in your Neovim config in a file that loads after your color scheme. Do pilot that restarting, source in a file, or so config Neovim after plugins highlights. .lua. So I put it in after. Yeah, if using laser nvim, create this. If I use after slash plugin, do I still need to specify it somewhere? Please give me all the details I need. Don't assume I've done this before. Okay. Take it as this, create a file in there, okay. It doesn't matter, put your highlight comments in it, yeah, okay. Save it on Neovim or run that. What this works? Okay. Good. Actual instructions. What's 0? So is that a priority or something? Did it say? I don't know. I'll find out via the LSP. So the thing is though, I'm still going to use an LSP just for this, for these variable names, because I need them. Like I genuinely need them. You can get by with comments like this, but those don't age well, so not a good idea. Like just for that alone, I'll have the LSP. But like it's fine to have it in the background. I'll still keep the LSP on for some things. I just won't necessarily use it for other things. So I might disable certain features. Right. So Neovim config, create a new file. So in Lua Kojo, what does overseer do? Oh, that's right. I need to configure that. Kojo plugins. Right? Nvim after. No. Is this a good like setup? Having Lua Kojo? Like that's what the Primogen did, but it also means that like my LSP sits here, like other things have to sit here. So I don't know if I like that. It doesn't seem to match up with what these expect the locations to be, but whatever. So I think it's A for something new. So nvim after plugin highlight. So nvim after slash plugin, just plugin or plugins, plugin slash highlights dot lua. So this will be global actually, which is quite handy. Yeah, go on. Okay. And just drop things. So vim.api.set highlights or set what? Nvim. Okay, set. Why is it? It's vim.api and then it's something else. Set highlight. So it's your NSID. What is the first integer? What is the 0 in this? Nexus ID. Okay, so NS for namespace, right? So 0, and then I have the name. So I get that from here, right? So for instance, let's make these same color. Hold on, are there not theme colors though? Can I opt into using those instead of creating custom colors just for this? Okay, so this highlight group is variable. Tell you what, let me just define custom colors. I think I will. Is that even white? It's like a pasty kind of yellow, which is actually easier on the eyes. But anyway, so yeah, so inspect. So at variable.cpp. So at variable.cpp and fg. Right, so there's also background too. That'll be interesting to see. Hashtag 00000000. Nope, sorry. FF. That is white. And close. Okay. And to reload source thing. Oh, it's this. Okay. That does not do much. Yeah. If I quit and open again. What? Would you like to update? Whoops. Jump scared me. I don't know. Yeah, so that's white. Okay, good. So I mean, it works. So let me hook this. What's my hook thing? Control H. It was already hooked. Okay, whatever. How are these empty files? Okay, never mind then. Yeah. Yeah, so I'll strip the colors for now. In fact, I'll even do local identifier. Okay, no, let's have local colors, American spelling, equals, yeah, so identifier is going to just be white for now. And then I can do it here, so FG equals, but before I do that even, how about BG? Bougie. Ser/main, make this a bit faster. Yeah, what? I need to do background color. That might come in handy for something. Probably not though, but whatever. So have this be colors dot identifier. See, like here's an autocomplete, right? It's kind of nice. Look, string or integer. Honestly, I don't need this fucking suggestion anymore. Like I used to appreciate it, but now I realize it's like, why is this string or integer? Is that part of the API or? Yeah, I'm gonna quickly disable that because that's really annoying. Lua ls param type false. Okay, so I can git add. Hold on. Git add lsp slash Lua git commit. Disable type hints for Lua. Yeah, that's just a bit annoying. Back to highlights. Let's hook this as well. Okay, so I can use this for other things. So just so I can actually read what the hell's going on. Right, so I got that. Same for types. Inspect. So type.cpp, and I guess in functions the same, right? Function.call.cpp. Okay. Yeah. So type and function.call. There you go. A little white. My LSP is overriding it though, and only when it activates. So can I disable? Can I disable the LSP's syntax highlighting? That's globally though. But only for Clang D, I mean. Which file is that? But like, I need more details, bro. I don't know what the hell's talking about. It has a habit of doing this recently. I don't know. Because he waste my tokens. Okay. Wrong file, sorry. Okay, so I thought I have to like change the settings, which is a bit, which is why it's not what I expected. So it's Clang. Yeah. No. So that's a generic one. Then Clang D equals. Yeah. Same thing, I guess. Just copy this. Same thing there. But for onAttach is a function with a client and buff nr, whatever, dude. That is. It's a list? Oh, it's a list, right? Okay. Client.server. Oh yeah, of course it is. Doc capabilities. My keybinds is L. Okay. Dot semantic. I should really configure my thing. So like if I do my super key and anything that isn't my keys, nothing happens. Because like whenever I mess up a keybind for something that no longer does what it did, like it just presses that normal key normally, which can be really bad for Vim because Vim is very specific with the keybinds. Or just get used to it, but like, I mean like adapt and no longer make the same mistakes, but hey, unused, yeah, why is it even, okay, it's just unnamed. He said it was undefined. I think it's just, yeah, whatever. So I quit now. ClangD is active. ClangD loaded faster there. I wonder if that's, never mind, now it's active again. I got this, but the highlighted, but the LSP still highlights. Okay. If this doesn't work, I might need to look into the LSP itself. But the LSP itself doesn't handle syntax highlighting, I don't think. Like it should be a Vim thing. So I should need to configure the LSP. It's more configuring Vim around the LSP. And that's why I'm doing it with this. So this should be correct. Client ID is client.id. BFNR equals, okay. Yeah. Okay. Disable Neovim ClangD syntax highlighting. So like this is clearly where Claude got its thing from. Let me try putting it here instead, but use the same code I did last time, this one. So let's add this function here. And it should say if client equals ClangD. Bro, Lua if statements. If then. What? So it uses curly brackets for tables. Okay. if client dot name. Okay, just move this. Give it a try. I know for a fact it's not treated or highlighting. If I just comment this out, what happens? It's still active. If I comment this out, what happens? If I comment this out, assuming it's not a required field. Wow. Handlers equals a list of functions yeah. I ran the LSP is still overriding. Confirmed it's not treated. I'm seeing. I tried commenting out the handlers field, and even then the thing, and even the LSP still highlights. I'm at a loss. I'm at a loss. I don't think anything would override this. Undefined field setup. So like, is this just wrong maybe? Okay, so this should go in the other file. So let me delete this. and put this like here. So let's be attach client equals this. Hold on. I disable type-ins for Lua. Okay, I guess I fixed it. Did it? No, I didn't. Yeah, but it's still showing them. Hold on. Prem type false. Let's have a look at this. So param type. Show hint for param types at a function definition requires that parameters be defined with param. Param name. Yes, yeah, it's like it's every param type, right? So how's that not working? I said false. Set type. Oh no, that's it. Okay, so this is false. I set this back to true. Okay. Fix previous commit. Okay, that should be better. Yeah, now it works. Okay. Anyway. So sorry. So locally, because must get client by ID, or data client ID. If client and client.name equals client ID, then do this. That looks legit. Let's give it a try. Thank you, Claude. Always say thank you to your LLMs. Yep. So game engine, init, type game. It would look weird at first, especially because like it's blinding white. But once you get used to it, you pay more attention to the fact that they're capitalized and stuff. I think it's worth it. Oh, I think that's the way to go. The main function is interesting. I don't know why that's called differently. Did I not? Okay, so an object call is different, I guess. Function.method.call. Yeah, it's the same thing, bro. Function.method.call. And this, is this just the main function? Because I might make that different color if it's just for main. No, it's just function. Function versus function call. Makes sense. But again, I mean, in this case, it's clear when a function call is a call. So I don't need to change that really. Let's even hear it for you. Yeah, so function could just be the same. Don't need anything for that. Look at that. Okay. And then auto is a keyword. Does it even know that? Built in. Keyword.conditional.cpp. Keyword.conditional.cpp. So built-ins can be keywords too, I think. give it a try. It's just a color I want to change, not the, like it being italic is actually quite handy as well. So I might use italics to my advantage. Will I? Actually, I don't really care if it's italic. Italic's useful for like if it's a function variable. That can be sometimes useful. Nah, yeah. So I'll reserve italics for when it's more of a subtle difference that doesn't really matter as much, maybe. Perhaps. I mean, to be fair, italics, yeah, I don't know, whatever. Inspect this again. So this is type.builtin.cpp. So type.builtin, and there's also keywords, right? Yeah. Keyword.cpp. What the fuck? That's annoying. What just happened? Keyword.cpp. Okay, that'll be different. That'll be a keyword. For now, let's make it purplish. That's what I'm used to. I don't know. Red, blue, red, green, blue. That's magenta. Should have guessed that actually. A bit less red, probably. Like A. Yeah, that's good. Horrendous colors, by the way, but like we'll work with it. Actually, let me. Yeah, no, I'll just tweak it later. I'm not faff around now with it. So change identifier to. Why did I do that? Identifier to keyword. Okay, give that a try. Okay, that hurts my eyes so bad. Inspect. That's a keyword.type. Okay. Went to the wrong one by mistyping it. Awesome. Keyword.type.cpp. Add this too. This is keyword.conditional. Okay. Good. Namespace should be the same as the other ones. Module.cpp. That should be okay, I think, being here. Yeah, module. Yep. Separating brackets, by the way, from other operators, good or bad? Arguably good. Although, sorry, I should be using not. I don't know why I'm using that. And what's that? It's a keyword operator. Okay. Is this as well? Just operator. Okay. Yeah, so brackets I'll have a different color than my operators, to be fair. What's that? Yeah, that's just punctuation. Okay. Okay. What's this? Constant.built-in. For constants that are built in, yeah, same color as keywords. Okay, then, so let me just change this color. It's actually so distracting. It's just so like more mute. Let's do BB as a maximum, and then I can adjust from there. So we'll do 7, 7. Make it a bit easier to like look at. He says 3, 3. Why is it that does not match? I feel. Maybe it does, or maybe background color is different from foreground color. I do find that to be the case actually. Right. So auto. If standard error, all the same color. Honestly, operators can just be white. Now that I think about it, because like they are just like they're not like they're just functions. Inspect. That's annoying. The arrow is an operator, even though it's not really. It's more of a different thing. Save the equals, also an operator, even though it's not. That can be annoying. Is plus an operator? Yeah. Then again, like dereferencing should kind of need to stand out, right? So maybe I'll keep it the way it is right now. So yes, I mean, this is already looking pretty good. Obviously not color-wise, but in other ways. So then I want to have, yeah, so this is already its own thing. Keyword.return.cpp. So control flow disruptor. Let's have this one be red. And yeah, good. So now for the punctuation, or whatever this is, yeah, punctuation. There's different ones there. So punctuation.bracket.cpp it said. Punctuation dot bracket dot cpp. That would just be punctuation. That's really annoying how it removes a tab. I should probably just fix that. And this would be like a gray color, so like 444444 type shit. Yeah, maybe not that like hard to see, but something along those lines. Like 7 maybe. I mean, this is very rough anyway. And then operators. Oh, brackets are all brackets. Okay, hold on. So also need to clear this then. Delimiter. It's annoying how the different operators aren't distinct. If the equal sign is just operator, it's not like a particular symbol, which is kind of annoying. I wonder if I can configure that through the thing itself. But literals don't need to be like crazy different. So this is just number. Yeah. What lagged there? I don't understand what's lagging there. So number.cpp, colors dot literal, I guess, and that will be something close to white, but like a bit brighter, like FF BB. I said lighter. I don't know why I said that. I meant like pink. I mean, that's pretty much what it was already, right? Yeah, but just like closer to white than it was already. And then the function quote brackets actually need to be white, low key. Now I'm kind of less certain about it being this dark. I mean, I could make it lighter and see how that looks. Like to do BB. But what's with the background color? I swear it's getting darker as I do it. Or like CC. Hashtag. Yeah. So like it's more visible, but like it still kind of stands out. Something along those lines. Yeah. Because like it shouldn't be like that hard to see. And then inspect brackets, yeah. So long that function called brackets don't have their own thing, but I don't know. It's fine. And is that it? I mean, I need to get these ones too, right? So let me add the few ones I've skipped so far. So operator dot keyword operator. Yeah, so there are different ones there. For the keyword operators, there really aren't many. I think not and or. I don't know how many other ones there are. If there are many more. Like, is XOR one? No. But like, I don't know what else would be considered a keyword operator. Like return could be, I guess, but it's not. So I don't know. It's just pissed me off. What I will do is change this real quick before I forget. Property.cpp. Hell no. And I love how this cursor looks, by the way. I only installed this extension like yesterday, and yeah, it looks really cool. For the not, keyword.operator.cpp. Let's try white and see what happens. Keyword.operator.cpp. What did I edit? Okay. And just more generally, just operator. So I don't like how the arrow isn't grayed out. That's annoying. I don't like how the equal sign also isn't grayed out. I wish it was. But I do like how plus wouldn't be. Yeah, like I really wish the equals and the arrows were treated as different operators. Maybe I could write my own parser. It probably wouldn't be that hard. Like it's really not that deep. How would I write a custom tree sitter parser? I have some gripes with the popular one for C++, as it doesn't disambiguate certain tokens. My issue is more so boom and equals being treated like normal operators, even though they're not really. Yeah. Can I configure this in Neovim without writing my own parser? Like here's CPP. Yeah. There's only one, so like that's if though. Inspect tree. Yeah, return statement. Return statement. Where's the operator being picked up? Okay, that's just that for some reason. Trailing return type. Let me just ask in the Discord server so I can sort it out properly because I don't trust that. Parses. Yeah. Anyway, for the time being, I'll make operators a different color anyway because they kind of need to be. It's not okay. Nah, I'll make it different too because they're operators. So for operators, I'll make them like orangish. I don't know. But operator, let's do like B. Fuck. Just what? Yeah. This is like very like just vague, okay? I will make them proper later. Yeah. Operator. Yeah, that's definitely too dark, but whatever. And then like it should be closer to the white. String literals are fine the way they are. I'll just make sure I specify a color for it. String.cpp. Yeah, make it green. And string escape. Yeah, it should be like a bit more like yellowish kind of. Maybe has like this color in it. What is that command? Yeah, like that. String escape. What is string escape? I don't know. Inspect. It's just string escape. Probably could have guessed that to be fair. And that would be string escape. Okay. And all that's left is this, right? Macro import CPP. Okay, so preprocessor. I will make the same color as my braces, honestly. Here, as punctuation. What's it again? Keyword.import.cpp. And keywords in general, well, no. Actually, what? Should be whatever. Keyword dot issue is that's going to change for import, right? Diagnostic underline error. What is import? Nothing. Okay, I guess we'll cross our bridge when we come to it. Okay, didn't work. Keyword.import.cpp. Keyword.import. Okay. So it's still quite colorful, but each color now just has like an actual purpose, which is pretty cool. So again, keywords are colored, operators are colored. The actual coloring would be a lot less like crazy than this, so I think it'll look a lot more uniform when I actually finish. But yeah, literal different colors, and that should be good to go. Man, this looks so ass. Right. So now I need to choose colors that are actually not dark shit. and I don't know what to do about that. I have Kanagawa as my theme. Okay, I guess I'll just check that then. Gonna go Neovim. That's it, right? There's a new one, an elegant evolution of Kanagawa. Whatever. Okay. Not quite what I meant. Okay, yeah. Sin for syntax, right? Okay. Do you know how I'd get the palette colors? No, how I get the... fuck it. How do I fetch them though? Do you know how I can fetch the colors for the Kanagawa theme? I need to go buy dinner soon. Okay, so, ooh. Okay, so that's automatic. Okay, fine. So I'll do yeah, I mean I can remove that, right? Yeah, okay. So we'll have local theme equals require Kanagawa. Like, what is that? Why is it doing that? Dot, like, what the fuck is going on? Kanagawa dot, it's not even correct, bro. It's a string, for Christ's sake. Dot setup dot theme dot sim. Okay, and we'll say, so for identifier, for instance, we'll have theme dot variable, so just none. Okay. So is it just none? Is that valid? Oh, yeah, okay, that works. Yeah, a lot nicer on the eyes now. Keyword. Right, so like theme dot keyword. Yeah. Okay, are we looking a lot nicer? Control for disruptor. Light blue, this is its own color. Okay. Special 2, special 3. So it'd be special 3. Makes it like nice and red, I think. Yeah. Or a special 2. Kind of the same. Okay. Peach red is what I chose. Yeah, I like that. Okay, I do like this pink, actually. It works very well, but let's see what their pink is. Not that I'm going to yet. So, sorry, punctuation first. Punctuation, yeah, it can't be too different. Like, it uses spring violet for that one. Theme dot spring, sorry, punct. But that's fine, actually. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I mean, I didn't want to change it anyway. Same as before. Operator is both yellow. So theme dot operator. I mean, I will have bias because like I am used to this already, so. Yeah, like I like how it's similar enough to the normal color, and I think that works quite well. So, I'm happy with that. Literals, same as before. I didn't want to change that anyway. Why not just do this to begin with? String. Where the fuck is the string? That was the first one. String is spring green. I guess reject is the other one. Theme dot string. Sorry, wrong one. Theme dot string, and theme dot regex. Yeah. I'm not sure I like this. Yeah, it's fine. Also, I was saying, I wish I took it before and after, but technically this is before and after when I'm recording it. Okay, and then literals. Probably just what they were before, right? Number. Number is arguably too dark for me. Like, I like pink, but like that's too dark for me. Is there a lighter pink option? Sakura pink. Theme dot palette. Palette dot sakura pink. I would actually recognize that somehow. Yeah, that's not dark enough. Lotus pink, maybe. That's darker. I mean, obviously it'd be nice if I could just preview these colors, but preview. Yeah, fuck it. Color bigger. Bah, it's annoying. Okay, not bad. Tad bit more like yellowish. Color theory go crazy right now. I like that. It's like subtly different, you know? Which makes it nicer. Okay, I mean the hints are fucking going crazy right now as well, but yeah, that's fine, man. Whatever. Can I even inspect those? No. Well, there you go. There's the code. So I got rid of italics. Yeah, it's a lot more colorful than I expected. But it serves a purpose, you know? I guess it's actually not that different from what I was before, to be fair. All I did was, yeah, unify variable names and types and all that. So that's now the same, which is good. Is that all I did really? To be fair, so it says true. I unified the keywords. Right, so it's like auto now is a keyword, and also built-in variable types like size t is built in. Standard size t isn't though, so that's good. So that's also a change. Return is the same thing, saying brackets, delimiters, and import. Right, so now macros use the same color as brackets, and so do delimiters. But I think those are already the same anyway, so that's fine. Operators, yeah. So actually, it was mainly just these, just the variable names and stuff. Everything else, I do actually have to be different. Is this still too much? Arguably so, but I think that's. I mean, sorry, not too much, but like, is it a lot? Yes, but I think that's not too bad. He's talking about Go. Those aren't his main points anyway. I'd say the video's introduction is weak, but the actual content of the argument yeah. So has this really changed my C++ much? No. Like I could remove punctuation colors, but I think that makes it easier to just read. Because like I'm not preparing for a situation where I don't have syntax highlighting. Like can I disable? Yeah. Oh. How do I temporarily disable syntax highlighting? TS disable highlights. Okay. Did you just fall back on yet another form of syntax highlighting? And interestingly, this one's actually is a lot more bare bones as well. Syntax off. Right. So like just looking at this, right? I want strings. And that's it, right? Yeah, yeah. So like strings are like the only thing you really need. But then there are arguments for like to make different things useful. So ts enable. Yeah. There you go. So allow me to sorry, so this isn't even used. Let me just delete this. Allow me to disable this entire file even. How do I do that again? I can do S. Okay, that works, I guess. before and after. The fuck? Right, so before and after, we got this, right? Yeah, just the identifiers are a lot less. And it's cool because like it really, because like before when I looked at this, it almost looks like maybe engine and engine like the only things that are really happening and results, I guess, right? But like now it's here, it's like, okay, like I can focus on the actual logic going on. So I see like maybe engine, okay, game engine, okay, I'm calling that function, maybe engine has value. Like if I just look at the white stuff, I see, okay, I'm printing line, then engine, okay, then get that, print line again. Now, arguably, this stuff is more of a distraction with using names as standard and all that. But like, if I focus on just the body of the function, which I would anyway, then that looks quite straightforward to me. Maybe even don't have colors for keywords and just use indent in italics. But I don't want to depend on italics either. I feel like more terminals are more likely to support color than italics. So. But yeah. Standard error is no longer red. You see that auto, if, standard error, they all become unified as a one color, which is nice. Yeah. Strings are the same. Returns the same, just not italic. Literals, like, what do you call them? Number literals are a bit lighter now, so that they look a bit less discernible from variables, which is what I like. It's more just like a subtle difference. And operators are the same color. Yeah, that's it. So all in all, not the most drastic, but definitely a lot less distracting than what it was before. So yeah, I'm happy with that. Awesome. I can quit and push everything. Customize color schemes. Color scheme for C++ to be more purposeful. Now, this doesn't affect my Lua or anything. That is the downside. That is a thing, I should say. Like if I go to my init, all of these are still the same. So I could change that too, I guess. Where was it again? It was in highlights. Like here I have if. I might even just not. Yeah, a bit hacky, but anyway. So now if I source that. No, okay, whatever. Yeah, so now it's disabled that LSP, I think, for Lua as well, which means I can get this. So vim inspect that variable.member.lua. Yeah. So same thing here. Variable.lua, variable.member.lua. Function calls are a bit different because they actually aren't. Well, no, that's still the thing. Yeah, that's fine then. Function. That's function.call. Why is the Lua LSP? The Lua LSP takes quite a while to load, I feel. Like longer than it probably should. Number.lua. Yeah, so like really it's just repeating these for all the different languages, I guess, eventually, but whatever. Require, is that built in? Yeah. Function.builtin.lua. I think string is built in. That's a bit confusing, I guess. But it's a keyword, so yeah, why not? Module.builtin.lua. Oh, that's a module. Fuck. Module.builtin.lua. Probably make this a more efficient flow, but whatever. What is false, actually? A Boolean. Yeah, Boolean can be the same as numbers, as far as I'm concerned. I'll probably need to do the same for C++. I'll just do it now so I don't forget. Although when they come up, I can fix them anyway. Callback. Function.lua. Property.lua. For some reason, these brackets are different. Well, these bugs are so annoying. Like, you just hear them constantly. Constructor.lua. Okay. Constructor.lua would be here. That is just delimiter. Just copy that. Okay. So function args are interesting, like a parameter, but it's only there, right? Yeah, when it's used outside of it, it doesn't matter. So yeah, same thing then. Variable.parameter.lua. There you go. I didn't get comments actually. To be fair, there's a difference between like actual comments and comments you just want to put there, right? Because like for actual comments, I have stuff like to do, and like that's highlighted differently. So on that end, I'll probably just leave comments the way they are. To be fair, I think that's fine. Okay. Yeah, I think that's it, right? Yeah. So again, if I do syntax off and ts disable highlight, that's nothing. Yeah. Sorry, not what I meant to do. Sorry, I mean if I disable this and quit. So first of all, it's slow to load in the first place. Right, so now we have before and after. Where after is this. The goal is to be purposeful. Do not differentiate things that can already be differentiated through other means. E.g., function names should be verbs, whereas variables are nouns. Types should be Pascal case. Anyway. API discovery, inline error. Yeah, so configuring the other stuff is going to take too long, so I'm going to leave it for now, but I'm going to try to, well, I haven't done any like jump to definitions anyway yet, so yeah, that's fine. So for the other stuff, I'll just kind of get to that as I get used to programming in Vim again, because like, keep in mind I've configured this like to hell and back, so and I haven't even used my own config yet, so there's a lot I need to get used to anyway. But yeah, I like this quite a bit. Same color. Ooh, that's not good actually. What's that? Variable.member. I could have sworn I had that, right? Oh, it was property maybe? Yeah, variable.member. Like, why is it the same color as fucking operators? That's weird. Member function as well, probably. Function.method.cpp. Right. Constants. .cpp. Nice. Yeah. So I like it. You know, it means that identifiers stay as identifiers, which is cool. It's so weird to me that like they adopted the convention of type T instead of just making it distinct like this. Like, it really wouldn't have been that hard, but alas. I don't even know why I use this. I'm pretty sure I have U8 in my in my file anyway. So like I do replace these, to be fair. In my own thing. Not in this file, but in general, if you look at my util, you can see I define these U8, U16, U32, and so on and so forth. And that's so I don't have that issue. See, for the other types, I tend to wrap any C++ type in my own type just so that they do stay uppercase. What's that? Function.macro.cpp. I don't know if the call is different as well. Function.macro.cpp. I don't think it is though. These are all fine. Yeah. It's just that and this. Variable.parameter. Okay, quit that. Okay, Neovim, no. Let me quit. Util. Yeah, better. Much better. I wonder if purple's the right color though for keywords. Oh, so this isn't even the right color. Hold on. Type the definition. There you go. Now it's truly perfect. Template, type name key, type name value, hash map equals standard underscore map key value. And it's nice, you know, like the things that are named are one color. Keywords though, yeah, the purple is a bit too distracting, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not loving it. I might just merge it with the other stuff, with this stuff, the operators, or punctuation even. If I do that instead, like here, what's that? Keyword modifier. Like, but no, it doesn't make sense. I think just a color that isn't that purple specifically would be better. Just gotta think what would be good instead. Maybe like maybe the operator color, even, because like they're both built in, but util. Yeah, I like that actually. Although these are different. That's type.built-in. That's keyword.cpp. For built-in types, yeah, they're fairly important, I guess. I might make type.built-in a different color. Purple. For C++. Or maybe I could make them red, the same as return. Because like, you shouldn't really be using it, but in my oh so humble opinion. Let's have keywords and operators be the same color, first of all. So keyword and operator. But then make an exception for type. For the rest of them, change colors.keyword to colors.operator. So now, didn't work. Built-in, sorry, I'm built-in, fuck. Keyword.built-in. Is it, or is it type.built-in? It's type.built-in, what the fuck? And what was it again? It was keyword.operator. Keyword.type. Yeah, there you go. So now float double sign out, and that's it. Okay, then these macros as well. Should I make then the same color as these? Like this, they already start with hashtag, right? It's like they're already different. But I mean, yeah, like because it's C++ and you're not like you want to avoid using macros, I do want to make them quite distinct. Keyword.directive.cpp. Where's this? Oh right, it's with the punctuation. So what's there? So there's keyword.directive, was it? Yeah, directive and dot define. Okay. Directive and then define. Yeah. IYWYU pragma. That's what the LSP doesn't get mad at me, which is kind of funny because should I even use an LSP at that point? Like this is not used, but like it is used, which is the funny thing. It's used here, but the LSP is like just not strong enough. I wonder if that would be kept up by like Clang Tidy if it would notice that too. So I might be able to remove those at some point. Because like, by not relying on an LSP, I also don't have to worry about LSPs that are faulty. That's other people's problems. I can just keep writing my code as if it was, you know, good code. But anyway. Cool. So that's truly good, right? Yeah. This is arguably not necessary. That's the standard part. Like I believe that they are the same. Is there any difference between standard uint 32t and uint 32t and the built-in uint 32t besides name spacing and C++ availability? Obvious stuff. They are functionally identical. Yeah, so there's literally no difference. Okay. Let's go to a different file. Like window.cpp. Why is that color? Constructor. That's weird. It's a function. Right, it thinks it's a constructor because it starts with a capital letter. So that's even correct. It's like all this time I probably had like mistake. Well, maybe the LSP made it better, but yeah, right. Constructor.cpp should be the same as a normal function. Null pointer. It's weird. A built-in constant. Built-in constant should be the same color as the other ones. Is it constant.built-in? Yeah. Let's try that again. So that was grid, was it? No. I don't know where that was actually. Probably should have kept track of that. Do search for util. Looks good. Auto will stand out, but that's probably fine anyway. Mind you, I wouldn't mind making auto red specifically. Well, no, because like it's like that kind of thing, is it? Hey, it's fine. It's just purple. That just throws me off. I don't know. Window TVP. I think that's what we want just now, right? Yep, that's been sorted. Should modifiers be the same color? I feel like modifier should be a different color. Like should be purple or something, because const is quite important. Then again, nah, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. Okay. Attributes. Attributes should be the same as the other stuff. There you go. Yeah, char, const char. Right. Get const. Okay, got my util here. Do I have char defined? I do not. Definitely should. Okay. U size, I size. Should be U size and I size, the capital S's. Otherwise you do UZ and IZ. But matter of preference really. Okay. Or game object handle. iGame. Component pool. Yep, I'm at usize, good. Okay. I don't know about this being inline anyway. I mean, really, this should be defined in the... Well, yeah, whatever. This whole thing there. Oh, this is also being... What's this? should be bool. That should be void. Should I void? Void's not really a type, is it? It's like auto, but I can't make auto capitalized. I mean, I can with include hashtag define, but I want to avoid that. Yeah, so I'll just not touch that. Auto and void can stay the way they are. What did I just change besides that? This, right. So this is variable.builtin. Okay. If it's a built-in variable, it should be purple. Like, yeah, here. That is component pool. Yep, so now this is just that. Okay. Yeah, like see what I mean about the, I mean, I said this a while ago now, but see what I mean about like having indentation. If I had 8 width indentation, this would be ridiculous. I mean, it's already ridiculously long. So, like, and like, it's just a pair, bro. Like, Jesus Christ. To be fair, I could make it like a pair, like that instead. But yeah, I'll get on that when I get to refactoring this code anyway, which is coming up. Why does this have X, but this doesn't? It's weird inconsistency. Okay then. Anywho, that I think is good. So git add all. No, here. Tweak colors and push. Right. Take us to 4 hours now. Well, yeah, anyway, that was good. Cool video, as I said. I'll link it in the description because I gotta help people with less subscribers and less views than I do. And yeah, that was good. I'm very happy with this highlighting. I think this is going to be good. It's going to take a bit of getting used to, but like I'll get over it. I think within minutes, to be honest, of editing with it. And so in general, I'm going to try to use my LSP less. Autocomplete, I still want. So like I'm not going to disable it because I do like autocomplete, and I also like the inline arguments. Inline named arguments. I might disable inline hints. I might just. And yeah. Thing is though, like with Lua, like there's some instances where you can't even compile them. Inline hints. I'll think about inline hints. I don't know. I'll think about inlay hints. I'll stop using inlay hints when I have the alternative set up. So we'll see when I get to that. And what else can you use the LSP for? Good definition, right? Yeah, like having like grep commands set up would be good. Learning rejects for that reason would be good. So I'll probably do that then, right? Have rejects and all that. Yeah. Yeah, I wanna set up like proper like grep search. So I can use that. Because that's just generally useful to have anyway, regardless of whether I jump to definition or not. So I'll do that. So what will I do then? Next. I guess I mean I guess I need to configure that sooner rather than later, right? But I think I already have so much going on in terms of like how much like my config. I think I'm gonna get back to programming for a bit, and then I'll set those things up a bit later. Because like right now, there's a lot that I've changed about my configuration overall, and I need to like kind of adjust to it before I add more things on top. That's my excuse to be lazy. All right, subscribe to see more developments.